Notice is hereby given that Erath County Commissioners Court will meet in special session on Thursday, July 18th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the second floor Commissioners Courtroom at Erath County Courthouse, Stephenville, Texas, to consider the following agenda items for discussion and possible action. We'll start this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next up is public comments. I don't see anything for public comments, so we will jump right into the budget workshop portion. Up first, I believe we have Sarge and the DPS and the extensive budget that we have with y'all. Do you have anything we need to change or anything different on yours? Okay, we're all good. It's a hot subject in the state of Texas on our listserv about having to fund DPS offices. Right now, I guess there's some, maybe, did y'all put new offices in a county? Because it stirred up the whole conversation. Do many of y'all support the funding for some of the offices?
They have built some new ones, but a lot of places we rent space. Like Weatherford, they have one DL office, or that one highway patrol office with two sergeant areas. So one of them's out of the state building and then the lease. So I haven't heard anything about it.
It's just cranky judges.
Not like ours.
Yeah,
No.
Ours is very.
Ours is happy.
Always. I think we're leaving that, Ken and I talked about leaving that equipment on capital in there, just in case there's something that comes up that y'all need, we can find a way to utilize that, over there. I know you've added more people, right, more staff.
We have 9 troops now, and we're home a lot more. So, you know, last year at this time we only had 4 troopers, and at any given time there was only 1 in the county, you know, covering days and nights. So, starting August 1st, I will have 9, and our border commitments have changed a little bit. Suddenly nobody's coming anymore to Texas. I don't really know what's going on with that. So let's cut our numbers there a little bit. But obviously, come January 1st, legislative session's gonna start, so we'll be back in Austin.
So they want
You know, it's all,
there's millions listening and watching on.
It's all boring stuff. Is that better?
Yes.
Well, it's just, we're online, and so it won't.
Oh, well, you didn't tell me that. That there was more than just us gonna hear that. I wouldn't have said anything. Do what?
Nobody did hear it.
Now they are.
There's a lot of stuff they didn't tell us when we hired out with this outfit. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very much so.
Me too.
No, but anyway, as far as the budget goes, I mean, I don't have anything to add or take away. Karen, you know, she's the one who handles all that. Most of the time, if I need something, I just use the state card, if I can. So, but we are very appreciative of it. You know, we put those impacts to good use. We have changed a lot of tires. It's made it a lot quicker. So I greatly appreciate all that.
Good.
So you're gonna need more impacts to get more officers?
I'll just buy them with the state card. I mean, unless y'all wanna purchase them, I'll let you purchase them. You know, 1 or 2 at a time doesn't, let me go back, all right? We have a different chain of command now, so things are a little easier on my end. So I'll just leave it at that. So it's easier to get the equipment out of.
We appreciate y'all.
Well, and hopefully we'll hear a lot more, you know. Y'all start seeing troopers out on the road. You know, our number of traffic contacts has doubled just in the last couple of months just because of manpower. So, you know, now that doesn't help with wrecks. You know, nobody likes receiving tickets, but
you know, our traffic contacts.
Yeah,
have
we
gone
appreciate you until we see the red and blues behind us.
there. Well, you know, hopefully that doesn't happen to y'all.
Awesome.
Y'all got any questions of me?
Y'all have any questions? No, we just appreciate y'all, both of them. If y'all need anything, let us know.
We appreciate everything y'all done for us. So, thank y'all.
Yes, sir. Oh, do you want, we did talk yesterday, with the sheriff's office, so they talked about flock and vigilant, and so gave a pretty good presentation. He, has talked to me a lot about it. If you have any questions about it, or if you'd like to say a few words about it.
Well, in just my opinion, I don't know what they're gonna go with, right? It's not my money. But for this part of the state, you know, cause I've heard the vigilant stuff come.
Well, the proposal is to put the flock cameras up, and then, there's a package to get access to vigilant. It's very cheap, relatively, just so that they can, query and do the search and that.
You know, I don't know how familiar y'all are with all the license plate reading technology that's out there, but it has changed the game immensely, as far as, you know, finding people who commit crimes, right? Most of our big crime that happens in Erath County, in my opinion, probably comes from the Metroplex. You know, and being able to detect anything that comes in and out of the county or the city would be extremely beneficial. All my guys have access to flock and vigilant. Vigilant works great at the border, because there's a lot of cameras down there. Vigilant doesn't work so good up here. There's not nearly as many cameras. Flock, basically all the municipalities around here in the counties are going to flock. And flock has capabilities that vigilant doesn't. Flock, you can narrow it down and search all the way down to a black F-150. It'll give you every black F-150 that crossed in front of that camera and whatever parameters you give it. And then you can put little things in there like sticker on the back window and filter those things down. Vigilant, you can't do that. And the only vigilant cameras that are around here, there's some in the Metroplex, and there's one out on I-20 at the Nolan-Taylor County line is the only one that's around here. You know, like I said, my guys have access to both. One of my troopers has already solved a handful of crimes for the city, just off of the LPR stuff, you know, if they give us a vehicle description. You know, I've been in talks, because once again, it's not my money, trying to get everybody on the same page with the city and the county. You know, in Flock, you have the ability to bring in maybe some outside partners, you know, such as Walmart, you know, probably, I mean, the chief could, you know, attest to this, but probably a third of their crime funnels through Walmart. You know, Walmart could purchase a couple of cameras and then give us access to those, you know, and then that just helps us, you know, and it'd be nice to have cameras on every roadway coming in and out. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but I can't brag on that technology enough. You know, it has really changed the game. You know, some people get a little uppity about it, you know, hey, I don't want to be watched. You're not being watched. We're not keeping data on you specifically, unless you give us a reason to keep data on you, you know. And anyway, so if y'all have any questions on that, I'll answer whatever I can.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for the county to spend money if we can't tie it into all law officers.
Yes, sir, and we already have access.
And that's, I don't mind spending the money, but it just doesn't make sense to do it with just the sheriff being able to, I mean, I know it's good, but we need to tie it in with everybody. So,
And the proposal that they've got's got everybody
in it.
Everybody.
So
Yes,
that's
sir.
what
And
we're,
they've reached out to those businesses, one that he spoke about, and a couple others that are pinpoints within the county and try to find partners for private partners.
Yeah, and we're trying to, like he said, we're trying to get, because we reached out to every law enforcement entity, right? There are some flock cameras already here in the city, but Tarleton owns those cameras. Now, they give us access to them, but there's all kinds of politics when it gets into the university and where those cameras are placed, right? Because they are for their campus. Now, some of them catch the roadway too, which is great for us. That's how we're able to solve those crimes that we've already solved. You know, but if we can get buy-in from every law enforcement entity, you know, everybody, because it's not cheap, right? You know, but if we can get buy-in from every law enforcement entity, you know, however that works out, I mean, we just up the number of cameras we could get. You know, we just did kind of a rough estimate. If we could get 20 cameras, we could cover every entrance and exit to the city. You know, and I'm not saying this is just a city deal, but most of the crime is gonna transect the city at some point, right? So, you get the best bang for your buck if you put, you know, a camera at Graham and the South Loop, right? You know, you're gonna get everything coming through there, or 67 and 281, you know, so. But trying to get buy-in from everybody, like Dublin obviously doesn't have, you know, the budget to do that. But, you know, we had talked originally, and I'm kind of getting out of my thing, but there's other ways to handle that, maybe through the combined dispatch or, you know, funding there, but big picture, perfect world, everybody will have access to it.
Well, I feel like this combined dispatch is gonna be great access to.
I don't know why every county doesn't do it, right? I did all my road time as a troop, 10+ years in Granbury. Now, I don't know if you really want to call it combined dispatch, but they have 4 dispatchers sitting in one room that dispatches for the county, the city, fire and EMS, and they have a 911 call taker, right? You know, so if something goes down, they just talk like you guys right across the console, you know, and the communication's a lot better, right? You know, so there's a lot of times, up until just a couple of months ago, we couldn't even talk to the city. So, and we still have problems with the county stuff, but, you know, there could be a city cop or a sheriff's deputy running code by us. We have no idea what's even going on, you know? I mean, we could have been there 5 or 10 minutes before they were,
Right.
you know, and handled the situation. So, hopefully everything works out. We go back to a combined dispatch, and then I will have Erath County or the city, whoever's in charge of it, right? Start dispatching for us again. Because currently they don't.
Right. Well, it just saves a lot of money too. You know, the money you spend on, what we're fixing to spend down here, we'll get that money back in service, you know,
Right.
and being able to get people to and from faster to the problem.
Well, and that's the whole deal, you know, just to decrease the response time.
Right.
You know, and have everybody on the same page. God forbid something catastrophic happens.
Right.
You know, because, you know, the comms facility will be able to just flip a switch and we'll all be able to talk on the same channel.
Yeah.
We can't do that right now.
Awesome. Anything else? Appreciate you as always.
Not a problem. If y'all need anything, let me know.
We will.
Thank you.
We've got Mr. Jackson next, I believe, in our list.
How y'all this morning?
Good. All right.
Mine's pretty simple. Y'all already approved the ambulance, so, hopefully it will be here in this next budget year, so,
What's the lead time on those, Rusty?
18 months. But he says he thinks he can get us a chassis and get that done, in this next budget year. So I'll let Kobe go over all that other stuff that's Kobe's stuff on there. And pretty much everything else I've got, not capital stuff. So, and I've increased several of my line items just because the cost of everything's gone up. And we're getting to that point where we're starting to creep into some of those line items just because of cost going up on everything. So,
This is where it starts carrying, any of these could be increased or decreased.
okay, yeah, so, and when we took off the professional services, cause that's kind of been incorporated into the the other, that was for paying Dr. Moore, and that's kind of been incorporated into
Health and welfare.
the health and welfare stuff, so we don't have to pay him out of our budget, it's paid out of the one budget now. So, we did away with that one. The medical transports to Dublin, it hadn't changed, I think that contract's still in force. That a continuous contract until it's
I
reversed?
think it's every 3 years.
Okay, so that hadn't changed, we've increased, you know, I wanna increase our continuing education, start sending our people to some more trainings and stuff, they're starting to come back and pop back up since COVID, people are starting to do that kind of stuff again. Increase that, I've skipped ambulance supplies at the top up there, I mean, our cost has gone up. Right now, we're getting really close to being over budget in that line item, so we're having to watch that pretty close. So I think we've actually transferred some money into that, if I remember correctly already, did a line item transfer on that one. The rest of that stuff's pretty much stayed the same. Mileage reimbursement, we're doing away with because, you know, we don't, have anybody being reimbursed for mileage. You know, me and Kobe have to take home cars, so we don't have to worry about the reimbursements on that. Advertisement, we don't advertise, so we don't need that line item. Let's see, repair and maintenance on equipment. That one, me and Kent had a conversation on. I think some of that expense that we had in that line item should have went to vehicle repair and maintenance. And I know we're out of money in repair and maintenance right now, so we've had some big issues this year with some ambulances and stuff like that. And then the insurance claims down there that y'all see that negative, that was that ambulance that we wrecked, that we had to put it into our line item to get it repaired, so.
We don't budget for the claim, so we take it out, and if something happens, we'll budget both the revenue and expense back.
And then the rest of that stuff we left the same, if I remember right. Well, we went up a few dollars on insurance, liability insurance, so who knows what that's gonna be this year.
We're probably still low.
Yeah, correct, yeah, we're probably still low on that, so.
There's a,
and then the capitals, the ambulance, and then Colby stuff, and then, the non-capitals like some office chairs and and some of his stuff, that he's gonna talk about. I thought that all his stuff was gonna be on this next board agenda, but I didn't see it on there. I don't know if it's gonna be discussed. Somebody said something about pulling it out of contingency, so I don't know.
remember we talked about the supplies Colby's needing,
Yeah,
and we said we could probably do it this year if we needed
Yeah.
to. So we went ahead and carried it out.
Went ahead and put it in here. Put it in here. If we don't
I
need
thought we were doing a budget, I thought we were doing, just moving the money over
We can,
to a
yeah.
budget.
Yeah, we
If they wanna go ahead and get it this year, we can do that. So,
And I'll let him explain to you what all that equipment is that he needs and stuff like
I
that.
mean, that goes back to that whole thing, we've got the money in there, why do we worry about a magical date of August 1st or September 1st to save somebody's life or get some medical
Yeah.
stuff? And like the supply budget, you know?
Yeah. But, before he
We're not
gets
gonna
up,
let you run out of money for ambulance supplies,
Yeah.
so.
no, man, y'all have always been good about giving us whatever we need. Before he gets up here, there's a couple of things I just wanna touch on.
Can I ask one question? real
Sure.
quick? Sorry, because I'm thinking about it. So, one ambulance, 18 months, that's what's in here.
That's that.
When would the next one need to be?
That's on my list, I
Okay,
think.
sorry. Jump ahead.
I would like to go ahead and get that other ambulance in the works, since it's gonna take a year and a half to 2 years, so it won't be this coming budget year, but the following budget year, that ambulance will be purchased in, the second ambulance will be purchased in. So we can go ahead and get that in the works since it's taking so long, and it kind of plays into some of this other stuff I'm gonna talk about too. And most of y'all are aware of our city calls. Our city calls are going up and up and up. I think we need to be proactive with this, instead of just being reactive with it. I've talked to Judge a little bit about, you know, us taking over city ambulance and just be proactive, because all they have to do is stand up and say, we're not doing it anymore, and it's dumped in our laps. You know, they're all citizens of the county. So if we can be proactive with it and take over that service, if they're willing to do that, but there would have to be some in-kind services with that. You know, I mean, whether they supply us stations, because, you know, I would love to have a station on the other side of town. I mean, it just makes sense. It cuts our response time down, and get that in work. So that's something we need to be aware of, and that kind of plays into that adding another ambulance. So, you know, so we're ready for it if we do. And then, the other thing is I just had a meeting a couple of days ago with our billing software company. They came in, I sat and talked with her, we talked about it, and we started looking at everything. She's getting me rates. We need to go up on our rates. So it's been 7, 8, 9 years since we've gone up on our rates, and she said we need to go up on our rates, which that doesn't change anything, it just changes what we're billing, and we can still write off county residents and all that after the insurance and stuff, but we need to go up on our rates. She said we're a little bit low on our rates, average wise for the state. So, and that's all they do is ambulance billing for this state. So, those are the big things. We kind of need to keep those in the back of our mind. You know, I'd like to be proactive instead of reactive with all this, so we just we don't have to jump on it. So as soon as I have billing rates and all that, I'll present that to y'all and bring that to y'all's attention, and we can decide what we're gonna do with that. But that's coming down the pipe. So, y'all have any questions on that stuff?
Only problem I got with the city of Stingville, here a few years ago, we just crucified Dublin because y'all was having to run calls on them, and we sit here and badmouth them and thing. Now we turn around doing it for the city of Stingville, patting them on the back saying, good boy, good boy.
What do you think I'll get you out of it? We never crucified Dublin. Right?
Yes, we did. We sat right here a few years ago because we was running so many calls to having to run to Dublin and run to Dublin and run to Dublin. They wasn't taking care of business. That's been 3 or 4 years ago. And now we're doing it right here in the city of Stingville, patting them on the back. Good boy, good boy.
The problem we had with the city of Dublin, is if we would run calls for them, and when they would run one for us, we'd get a bill for it.
Well, that's, maybe we need
That
to
was
be
the problem
billing,
with that.
maybe we need to be
That
billing the
was the
city of
problem with
Stingville
Dublin.
for calls that we're running for them, because they're taking advantage of the county right now. They got
Absolutely.
one damn ambulance for 50,000 people. That is sorry business, and they're taking advantage of us.
Yeah, that's why I talked to the judge.
Okay, that's my take on it. I'm not happy.
I don't disagree with.
You're not happy?
I mean,
No, I'm not, it's obvious, so
if
it's
we're gonna run
just,
their calls, then there needs to be some in-kind service there.
I agree. They need
It's
to
not a
pay.
it's not a mutual aid thing.
No, you're exactly right. It's not mutual
I
aid.
mean, we don't mind helping anybody, but it's becoming more and more and more frequent. So,
That's right, and even with the fire, they're taking advantage of the fire. The cities just run over the county, so.
In what way, Albert?
I'm
In what way?
Well-
In what way are they running over the county right now?
The city
In what way?
cannot, the city cannot
You
fight.
understand the problem
The
that's
city
been the
cannot
problem
fight a
with this-
structure fire by
between this-
themselves with what they got. They're the ones with the fire department need to be providing fire service inside the city, and the city does not have enough firemen to fight a structure fire without the county having to go assist them. All right, they're not trying to improve their problem, they're just sitting back making it worse because they know the county's coming, the county's coming, the county's coming. That's costing us money. That's the whole problem. The ambulance the same way.
and that's why I've had these conversations with the
Okay,
judge.
so anyway.
And I know
Running
he's-
over.
he-
We've had many conversations about these exact same problems. What doesn't help is comments like that and attitudes like that.
Well,
That's
it's
been the
the
problem
truth, so-
between the county and the cities, both of them, for a long time.
So anyway, they're just,
Can Leeville Volunteer Fire Department handle a structure fire by themselves?
probably,
With
yes, we probably
professionally
could.
paid volunteers?
We probably could, but why don't the city have enough to fight a structure fire? They do not, because they don't wanna hire nobody. They can take their money that should be going in the fire department around, and they can take it and go spend it someplace else. And say, oh, the county is gonna cover us, the county's gonna cover us. That's just taking advantage of the county.
Okay.
And Albert's not the only one with that opinion, so.
I understand what you're saying, Albert. That's why I'm trying to be proactive and
And I understand, I
we're trying to
appreciate
have those meetings
You've
with
got to
the-
compensate, and I understand. I understand.
I want to ask a question.
Sure.
Is it a service that the city has to provide to their citizens, or is it our responsibility The city has to have some responsibility in providing the service for their own citizens.
They do not have.
They do
No,
not have
there is
to?
no,
Okay.
essential services in the state of Texas are law enforcement and fire service. Ambulances are not covered in there, so they don't have to do it. They don't have to do it. There's nothing that says they have to provide an ambulance for their citizens. So if they come tomorrow and say, we're not doing it anymore, it's gonna fall on us, because they pay county tax dollars too, so, you know,
Just
that's,
because I didn't know how it worked, and I just want to know.
yeah, that's how, yeah. It's
So
not an
fire
essential service.
is their responsibility.
Yes, sir. Fire and law enforcement are essential services. Fire, law, and sewer, I think is what it is, are essential services. So,
I believe like the city of Granbury has law. They sub their EMS, or does
Yes.
the county run their EMS?
They sub their
Texas EMS is a private EMS service. They subcontract it, but it's kind of like MedStar in Metroplex, but MedStar's going away.
Granbury doesn't
So,
have a,
they're on
So-
Fort Worth's doing their own fire.
Yep.
they're still.
So the other side of this deal is, are most of our calls from emergency calls, or are they non-essential, you know, just transport calls? Which
It's
are,
a mix of both. It's a mix of both. We're going,
So-
when they first started doing this, we weren't going to the nursing homes and all that. They were holding those calls because 99% of the time, they just need transfers to the ER.
yeah,
They were holding those until their ambulance got available. They're not doing that anymore. I mean, if their ambulance is not available, they're calling us. So they're not holding those calls anymore, so, which ties up one of our trucks,
Yeah.
which
This where's
So,
that our
lessens
equipment?
our ability to serve.
Run out.
So is
Where's
it-
that our equipment running on
is
that?
there a service that could be provided for, you know, non-emergency transport? Is there some way that doesn't require a paramedic or someone else to be in transport?
No, sir.
Is there a service in Texas that way?
No,
So-
you've got to, if it requires medical care. there
Well,
has to- yeah,
that's
there
what
has
I'm
to-
saying, but-
Now, there are wheelchair vans that
Just to
will
take,
come and pick somebody up and take them to a doctor's appointment or,
are we running some of those calls?
yes, sir.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the part I disagree with.
Yeah.
Is we don't need to be just taking grandma to her doctor's appointment.
No, we don't, we will take.
We need serious.
Don't do that.
incidents.
Yeah, we don't do that. We go strictly to the ER.
They only go to the ER.
We go strictly to the ER. We won't even take them over to Afforded Care or urgent care. We won't do that. They go to the ER. And that has to do with some insurance issues and some other stuff, transporting those food stamp and stuff, so.
Here's one of my takes on what you just said, going to nursing home thing. The city will send a fire truck down there with 2 firemen on it, and they sit there, but yet they gotta use their ambulance. Why couldn't those 2 firemen that took the fire truck standing there doing nothing, why couldn't they took an ambulance down there and picked them up and carried them to the hospital?
I have no control over that.
No, I understand, that's not you, but that's just, I mean, I hear that stuff, and it's just.
Sure, I understand what you're saying, but
And it was just like last year, whenever it was a big fire danger, they could pay 2 people extra to run on fires out in the county, but yet they couldn't take those 2 and run them on the ambulance.
I understand.
Well, wait a minute, that's the,
Well, that's the
That's back to the
conversation,
city,
that's the
right?
conversations that, and me and the judge.
that's what
started
makes me
with
mad,
this- with the city.
crap like that.
Trying to get that, where we can line that out, and if they're gonna keep it, then,
And every call y'all run on in the city, that's taking one of the ambulances out of the county, that y'all could be running, maybe y'all need to be going to Bluffdale to get somebody there, but y'all run the city car. That's my problem.
If the city decides tomorrow they're disbanding their EMS service, essentially we'll be in charge of all transport and all emergency calls that are.
yes, sir. And at that point, we would have to add another ambulance, a third ambulance.
And they are not talking about doing that.
No, they're not talking about
Public
doing
record, talking about stuff that impacts people. They're not talking about doing it.
I need to know.
I know, but they're
yeah.
not talking about doing it. Let's be
I
very
just need to know, if they're gonna lay it in our lap, we have to be prepared for it.
I understand this. I don't want any rumors
Yeah,
to
no,
get started.
they're not talking about doing that, but I'm just saying if they do, it's gonna fall on us.
Why not?
Right now, we have 4 ambulances,
We have 4 ambulances, we staff 2 of them 24/7.
and we got a 5th one coming.
Yes, sir, and the old Medic 3 will be going away. It'll be full. That truck's just strictly a backup, and,
What's the condition, minus Medic 3, the other The other ones, what kind of shape are they in? How many
Medic
miles?
Ward's in still really good shape. I mean, we fixed most of the issues on Medic One that we had. Bandy did those, fixed those. Medic Two is getting to where it does not need to be a frontline truck anymore. They're getting, they're getting to where they're in their life stage where they're really not dependable enough to. But, they're still good trucks, don't get me wrong, and there's nothing that says we can't come in and put a new chassis on them if we find a chassis, so.
I've seen people doing more and more of that.
Yeah, if you can find a chassis.
Yeah.
And also, now, maybe it's be me, but if we say, okay, we're gonna do this and everything, that means you gotta have at least another crew, or a whole nother
Yes.
staff, you gotta have three.
That'll
instead
be,
of two. That's
that'll be another
right,
6 people,
that's right, 6 more people right there.
yeah, plus the ambulance, so.
Yeah, so, big
I
chunk
don't
Uh,
of
know,
money.
five years ago, 6 years ago, when I looked at doing it, and we talked about doing that stuff, adding another truck when we were doing
Yes.
gonna move that out
Yes,
to
okay,
Dublin.
yes.
It was right at $500,000 to add the crew and the other ambulance, and it's gone way up because ambulance is a double
Ambulance is
price.
nearly the $500,000.
Yeah, ambulance is $500,000 now, so. you're right,
How do we,
$500,000.
how much of that do we recoup from insurance? And
That was my next question too.
And how that works.
How much of it,
money do we recoup from a call rather than coming out of the county budget?
if it's a county resident, very little. We bill their insurance, we'll bill their insurance, whatever their insurance pays, we write off the rest. We don't bill the citizen. Now, if it's an out-of-county resident, let's say they get involved in a car wreck, we'll bill their car insurance and they're responsible for the rest. Which typically collection rates on all that stuff are between 30 and 40%. So,
Now, y'all generated nearly, I think it's 250 something thousand.
it's something
This
like
year.
that, yeah.
So far. And what I see is Emergicon pays us kind of monthly, a big
Sure.
reasonable
Yes,
amount.
yes.
How does that work? So we.
How they build, they'll take whatever they're in, let's say you run we pick you up, carry you to the hospital, they're gonna bill you. Whenever we get a payment from you, they post it in their ledger for that
That's the
month,
Emergicon.
in that month, and then, they will reimburse us minus their percentage that they charge for, billing. So, and you could have some that are 90 days old that are in that too. I mean, just whenever they're paid, they go into that monthly ledger and then we get a check, a monthly check. Every month we get a check.
And outside of Emergicon, y'all see a charge maybe a school for setting up their ball.
Yes, sir.
game, things
Yeah,
like
if
that.
we go to a ball game, we probably need to look at that too. We hadn't changed it since I've been here. We charge $95 an hour for standby services. And that covers the 2 people, paying the 2 people plus the ambulance being there, so.
They won't hardly cover 95 won't cover the cost, basically.
It will cover it covers the cost, but just barely. And if I have to use full-time people, depending on where they're at in the pay scale, it might not cover.
I'm glad you asked that, because that's what I was getting ready to have him explain.
I got one more question.
Yes, sir.
I was in Morgan Mill Saturday to their breakfast, and, of course, they're building a new fire hall and stuff right there on 281. And they're wanting to they will build a slot and housing for an EMS in Morgan Mill.
Yes, sir.
The growth in every direction.
Yeah.
How would you maintain that if you put an ambulance up there? If they built everything for us,
What do you mean
for the
maintain?
county, to put an ambulance up there and give him a call area, give it a call area.
Yeah, we'll give them, wherever we put it in, if we put an ambulance in Lingleville,
Yeah.
they'll have a call area and dispatch will have that, this is their primary call area. That ambulance runs that call area, if, or say we got a major wreck on 281 that's requiring 3 3 or 4 ambulances, they would come to that too. But that would be their primary area, they would staff there, stay there, and that's where that ambulance would be housed.
I feel like we're growing and we're gonna have to outsource some ambulances in different parts of the county.
We've talked about that, and I had them run some data for me on call volume and where it's at. It actually, I think, would surprise you, because it surprised me.
I run data for us for a lot of things, for like, doing training, I guess. I'm supposed to talk about things, but I can talk about it. Okay. I run data for us for several things, where it's, you know, whether it's things for training purposes, or, you know, call volume is one of them. And I mean, with our ESO, the charting software that we use, like I worked with them to build us a specific report spanning over the past like 5 years, over call volume specifically in Morgan Mill. They haven't increased, they're running about 15 to 20 calls a year that we're actually sending ambulance there. And that's the average, but it's a response time from our station here to Morgan Mill. You can get there running code about 15 minutes or so. That's, for our county size, that's within normal like regulation response time. We don't really have an issue there. Like, I think the response time issues that we have is like the loop, when we've got to go this way, or we've got to send ambulance out to Winkleville, those areas where we've got to basically cut all the way across Stephenville. We have higher call volumes in those areas, and we also have, you know, a lot lengthier response times because of the amount of traffic we have.
So I think you're right. We have to, I think we've talked about this, we have to look at how we can position as the population grows. Pods is what I've always.
It just makes sense for first ambulance.
It's the crosstown traffic.
Because it's
Getting across town.
access 108 and all that area.
They're just getting across town.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'd have to look at that, and, you know, since I've been here, it never made sense to me why I have both my ambulances in one building over on one side of town.
yeah, the response time to get across town is almost as much.
Especially now.
The trip to Dublin,
You know?
the trip to Dublin takes less.
Not nearly bad, but if you pick up City of Stingley, you're gonna pick up City of Dublin too.
I don't know, I mean, I think, it's possible.
I think there's big, I think there's
and we
big
all know how.
I think there's big
Dublin is.
possibility there, so
Yeah,
then
we
you're
all know
gonna
how
have to cover
Dublin
the whole
is. I
county.
mean, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah, and we
In
could.
all honesty, I'd like to get rid of this contract with Sacred Cross up north.
Yes.
I would like, but right now, to better serve those citizens up there, it takes us so long to get up to the freeway. So,
Well, that's the problem, getting I-20.
Yeah.
A major accident, I-20 without Sacred Cross is,
yeah.
it's, you know, it's just not possible, not possible. I don't see.
Yeah, the 108, y'all all know the road up 108 is really narrow when you get up there, so it's a hazard for us to run that.
Yeah.
So, but I would love to get rid of that contract, but, that's.
So you
I think we need to work on
positioning one across town, another.
send it to
satellite
ambulance from
office
here,
across town.
and Sacred Cross coming down, you know,
Another
it's not
satellite
there, and
office
it's
across town.
go back, and it's done, you know. There's got to be a better communication source there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and I'm for moving these ambulances out into the city, out of the city.
Right.
Get them out of the city, it's easier to respond into the city than it is to respond out of the city.
But if Morgan Mill built that up there, you would just move, your thinking is move one
I didn't even know
of your
that
boxes from
they're
here.
not responsible.
Yes,
Station
EMS.
yes, sir.
So-
Yeah, if that's what we decided to do is move an ambulance to Morgan Mill, yeah, I move one out there.
Rather than rig it up another ambulance.
They could.
Right, yes, we would separate.
Their budget, their budget,
And if we went across the country, we did the same way.
Lakeville or wherever.
Y'all have any other questions on that? I just wanted to throw it out there for things to be thinking about, you know, they'll probably be coming down next year, so.
you know as well as I do, Erie County's blowing up and
Yes,
it's gonna
yes,
get
it is.
worse.
It's getting busier every day, so.
That's why we wanna know about that.
We have to be
ambulance.
prepared.
Yeah,
If
I
we're
mean,
still
that-
18 months,
I mean, yeah, we can address that.
We're 18 months behind.
If we want to, go ahead and get in for it, start the purchase process, knowing it's gonna be a year and a half, 2 years down the road, so.
They require any kind of payment until,
No, they didn't on this last one, because when we approved this last one, I just signed a piece of paper saying we was purchasing it and handed it to them after y'all approved it.
Is there any avenues to take a box and put a new chassis under a box, or is there any avenues out there for that?
Every ambulance manufacturer will do that. I know Horton will do it. Horton is the boxes we have now. And Horton's actually pretty good about it. When they remount a box on a new chassis, they pull out the entire electrical in that box and rewire the box, which most of them don't do. That's where you normally run into the problems with the remounts, is the electrical system starts getting old and failing in those boxes. But Horton's usually pretty good about that, but the problem is buying the chassis. So, that they would rather send those chassis to a new build than a remount right now. So, there's so many people on back order for getting ambulances, so this is bad right now, if I can get an ambulance call from anybody.
seems to be a common theme. Fire equipment, ambulances, police cars.
Can't do that, they don't
Yeah,
match.
but you drive up 281, you drive in the Metroplex for
You better put in
10,000.
an order for a
White
new truck
trucks
and hold the
on
box,
both sides of the
because I
freeway
think you'll get the
brand
truck
new.
before you get the whole box. But then the lead time to swap over.
Y'all have any other questions before I turn it over to Toby, let him kind of explain that
No.
other
Y'all have any more questions?
No,
Carrie?
thanks, Gary.
Thank you, Carrie.
First and foremost, appreciate y'all being receptive to a community paramedic program and stuff here in this. It's not really common to have that in like a, rural area. It's actually the types of areas that need it the most. We've been serving citizens really well with it so far. So, this is a program where it's between us and the Stephenville Fire Department, in that we have a group of 4 paramedics, myself included, that are critical care certified paramedics and experienced ones. A couple of us are from Flight, myself, Steve Jacobson with Stephenville, you had a prior career with Airvac. And so we come with the experience of critical intensive care in the field. And so the first half of this program has been your community health, which is a lot of that is preventive care. We identify patients that are high revolving utilizers of our ambulances and increasing the call volumes. And a lot of times it's going to be for chronic problems, chronic issues. And we work with them with their doctors. We can get specific orders from their doctors for home treatments and therapies, different things there to try and mitigate these ambulance responses to there for the same thing. The same thing for the hospital, the ED visits that we keep bringing them in, and it's overcrowding the hospitals. So there, a hospital is very receptive to it as well. They actually have a community health worker there, and that helps give us referrals. The hospital communicates with us now as far as when people are being discharged. If it seems like they might be about to be discharged to like a bad situation, helpless situation, homelessness, different things like that. We've, through this first year of having it, we've been able to, we have good relationships in the community. We go to meetings regularly with United Way and with all of our local health and charity organizations, and everyone is working together on that front. So they refer to us, we refer people to Meals on Wheels, we give them transportation, different things, without ever, that coming from the county expenditure. More of so it's just these organizations learning about it and being willing to help with us. So that was like a first phase of that program, of having a well-working, community paramedic program and presence in the community. The other half of that is that you now have a group of paramedics that are critical care certified and experienced, and in providing a high level of emergency care when it's needed in the field. And I can tell you, like, with this, with having flight experience and being in that previous background, one of the things that happens a lot is you are governed by, you know, with FAA regulations and everything, you're governed by weather. And so it's, you know, we get your big nasty car accidents and your you know, major incidents and stuff like that a lot in inclement weather, which they also cannot fly, or what have you. It's not just those cases, but there's several cases around where maybe we're gonna have a prolonged time for critical care response by helicopter, or, you know, it's not available for any reason, or we just don't have even that amount of time to implement that care or to wait for that level of care. So knowing that we have a group of paramedics with that kind of experience, that's what this was proposed to. And so that's what we were talking about with some of this equipment and everything, which I was just gonna briefly cover with you guys. And that's the one that we were talking about here with Kent that was mentioned, yours speaking about earlier with the current budget being out of contingency or whatever. We're talking about equipment like a ventilator, being able to start a blood program here where I'm able to bring donated blood that is done through Red Cross and be able to start a blood transfusion on scene immediately for someone who might need that. Everything, equipment to do, like reading labs, can do bedside lab values and reading help further diagnose things like heart attack, or also just, you know, when something isn't adding up right for a patient, to be able to look at labs and interpret, like finding an internal problem, root cause to these problems. IV pumps are in here for specific medication infusions that need to be titrated to a certain and exact level, but also implementing things like ultrasound. You think of ultrasound for like in pregnancy and, you know, getting readings and stuff like that on the baby, but ultrasound is used a lot in trauma as well for identifying internal bleeding in the stomach, or in places where, like, maybe we have a person in cardiac arrest where it's a traumatic cause. We're doing CPR. You can use this to actually see, is there viability in the heart? Is the heart having any muscular movement at all? Is there something that we can work off with that? So these are things that help us, especially the exams in the abdomen, you know, differentiate between, do we go stay here locally, or does this person need a trauma center? So just some specialized equipment to kind of help with this. And then there's also a budget, part of that budget for the CRP training. That's just continuing education in the critical care level. So all of that is included in there for if we did those purchases and everything, like we had talked about, the ones, you know, for the continuing, like fiscal year 25 and beyond, are really just going to be on some of these items that would have recurring charges. So like your blood, for instance, the quote that I know for per unit was going to be about $300 per unit. And that I was going to plan at least at starting to carry one unit at a time to gauge the use of that. They're usually, you use those over about a month. You have them for a month. So I budgeted in there for 12 units of blood plus gauge a rough estimate of 6 uses in the year. So that's in there just as replacements. And then for ultrasound, like there's the software for that program is a yearly membership of $300. So other than that, I mean, your major costs and everything for the current year, if we did that on the contingency like we were talking about earlier, that chunk is most of it would be a one-time expenditure. Whereas I gauged about $8,000 to $10,000, I said roughly $8,000 yearly annual for your everything that is a recurring charge there. So just wanted to kind of explain some of that specialized equipment. So you're looking at this equipment being right now at its start being on the CRP unit, which is the Tahoe I drive. It's not immediately going to all ambulance personnel, anything like that. It's going to the group critical care guys. Now, this specific equipment that we're talking about and all this is not like I'm saying being shared between the two departments, whatever. This is specifically our end of the deal for me, for the for community resource paramedic CRP position within EMS. So, way that pretty much works, like I said, I do scheduled visits with patients pretty regular. I have a list of people that I stay in contact and communication with, and I'm doing that pretty regular throughout the week. But as EMS calls arise and stuff, I also respond to those calls and help with the EMS crews. The idea behind some of these is that we get to a call where that higher level of care or specialty equipment might be needed. It's now immediately available, and I can get started adding that on to the care to the patient. This kind of equipment is actively being purchased within the Stephenville Fire CRP program as well. So that is also available within. We kind of work in our program. We, as you may have heard of it before, it's called CARES. It's what we call our program that encompasses all of the community medics. So I'm actually familiar with a lot of their patients. They're familiar with a lot of mine. We help each other. If I'm close to a city EMS call because I might be on my way to another patient to visit or coming from a meeting or whatever, a lot of times I stop at their call to see, is it, is everything good? Y'all need any assistance, whatever. The CRP is more fluid in that regard. But overall, I mean, that's the second phase of this program implementation is for that specialized equipment for emergency care. Is there any questions or something I can explain further on?
I love it. We're providing a better service for our people. That's the key to me. I guess one.
24/7.
I'm sorry?
Are y'all available 24/7?
So in the city fire department, you have, part of the guys are shift based. You have some that are on a rotation, they're 24, and unless there's like staffing issues or something where they have to be pulled off to a fire engine or ambulance, what have you, then that is supposed to be available 24/7. Now, you probably know, like I work typically like 8, 9 to 5 type of day, 40-hour week. However, our positions like mine and also Steve with the city, we're actually still hourly positions. So, with adding this kind of care level and everything, he and I have already been in discussion about, making sure we have a rotation of availability for an on-call type deal where we could be called to a scene and make sure that stuff stays. Not, we don't just not afford that level of care to someone because we're not there or we're not on duty. So
That's got a question for Carrie and yourself. Do we see a need or a thought process for us to expand having somebody do more training to be a partner on that with Colby and Sam?
Yes, sir. Like Colby touched on, those patients that he see on a regular basis, ambulances aren't having to go see those patients.
Which has been a really big deal. I can think of one example in Bluffdale that would have been an hour long every time somebody was going there.
Right.
This program, statewide is kind of, even nationally, in some places, it's moving, EMSs are moving to this program more, and expanding those programs just because of cost savings and benefit to the citizens.
But in that and adding this critical care component, I think kind of is what Albert's saying. If I'm hurt, I hope you're coming. But if he's gone or he's not here or these words up, that we're training the next crop to be right there at the same level as him, and we've got that continuous stuff.
You know, if we're going to invest that much in it, I feel like it's going to be available time. Like I said, I need you.
Right.
And I don't expect you to work 24/7, but I mean,
Sure, but to
and
have
if we're gonna spend it
plan in
and
place.
got it, it needs to be available to.
Cause I think the total for your stuff is
It was, 42,350 for the initial.
And that's
For the
for the
initial.
training in there, folks.
That's with a $2,000 training line item as well.
So
So
I don't know how Kent wants to do that, if you wanna roll that into our training budget, or you gonna make a separate line for CRP training?
I'd rather not keep adding lines if we can keep track of what you
Well,
get out of
yeah,
it. It's easy enough to go back and pull and say, yeah, this is.
I mean, it's not like
You don't wanna.
hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's a couple $1,000, that should be pretty easy to track.
I think one of the biggest questions right now for you guys is, we've got this 15,650 here, and I think the 20,000 here, that's 35 of it. A little bit of that he was just talking about.
Yeah.
We had talked earlier, you know, in the year about going ahead and doing this. And so now it's winding up, we're getting so close to budget, it's in here. Do we wanna go ahead and do it now before the year still, like we talked about? And pull it out of here, except for the recurring? Is that what y'all are?
I mean, so that was my original proposal. You know, I had talked about trying to get this on and everything, and then the possibility of doing it immediately, like through contingency or whatever, is great. I mean, these are all those items that I told you, these are quoted prices. So I have
Cody, if we ordered it today, how would we do that stuff?
turnaround, it depends. Some of these would come from the same company and some are different, so it just depends on who you're talking about. Most of them, I would think within 2 weeks to a month you could expect, all those. It's, a lot of it too is things that you have accessible, like on a helicopter or whatever. So say some of this care was started now, it's easy to transition to them. I can tell them my vent settings, what was working, they can set their settings the same and just transfer our already intubated patient, for instance, to their ventilator, just helping get stuff moving. The fact is, I love living here, it's a nice place to live, it's a scary place to have a heart attack. It's a scary place to have a major traumatic injury, everything, because, you know, we work off, especially in trauma, we work off what they call the golden hour, which is your that hour, it's known, it's statistically proven, if you can make it to a high-level trauma center into that care within 1 hour, then you have the best chance of survival of major injury. But where we're at, I mean, that's very hard to do. This is not a trauma center capable, Stephenville, capable of providing that type of care. And with that in mind, you know, we still have, with our aircraft in Granbury, we still have launch times. It's normal launch time and response to here to be about 25 minutes, 25. So where you get the time saved is them taking off and flying to Fort Worth. You know, from Stephenville to Fort Worth by helicopter, helicopter EMS is going to be roughly the same amount of time, about 30 minutes or so. You can get there 30 to 35 to downtown Fort Worth. So it helps with that.
I can tell you exactly, 11 minutes in that pad right there at the top of Harris in the helicopter.
11 minutes?
After you get in it and get ready and they take off.
Okay, yes. So, I'll
11
tell you.
minutes from the time you take off to the time you land on top of Harris.
At launch, right.
4 times.
A launch sequence.
He's a freaking
all
flyer.
things are,
Gold
you know,
card.
all things considered, I mean, time is everything. Time is life, is what we say. And so, or in stroke, time is brain. So all these different things, you know, in mind, it's just like what I would hate to see is that you've got a group of specialized emergency care, you know, responders, specialized paramedics that know this equipment, that have experience in it, and the ability to not be able to provide it. So I wanted, you know, that's kind of where the idea of all this was. Now, long run, you know, talking about expanding that kind of care and everything, it's also worth looking in the long run. We're talking about the growth of the county, the growth of EMS and everything that, you know, training our field providers, our ambulance providers, in that area as well. Training and increasing responsibility usually helps, keep retainment and people, you know, job satisfaction and all that. But this, eventually, you could see this kind of, this level of care be afforded right out of the ambulance as well, immediately available at the scene and everything. And that mitigates your response stuff too. But this is just something, you know, you've got a group right now that's ready to go in the training and all that kind of stuff. You can start by adding that equipment in a fast response vehicle and all that, and then gauge our use, gauge our, you know, everything like that. It's just, we're able to see more, and it doesn't cost near as much as trying to put this on every ambulance and train every employee in that level, so.
It would be my suggestion, again, we have the money, order it, have it now. Cause I don't understand, I mean, if we have the money, waiting for a magical date again of September 1st.
Sure. They're talking about COVID stuff.
Yeah, COVID stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, bring that to the court and do the budget adjustment to move it over here.
So too late for Monday?
And then we can discuss it more from, but that would be,
I don't see them.
We could take a little of that out of here and put the recurring cost in for next year and.
and then you'll know your recurring cost, and that's what can be in that line. All right, any other questions for Carrie or Mr. Swearingen?
Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
Okay, thanks.
Are y'all ready? Or do we need to?
I'm good.
We're good?
I think that, it's like an have a heart attack, I think, when that comes down.
If y'all would, when. Good morning. Who are we talking to?
That's what we're discussing. It's more her budget than mine. If the questions are hard, you're talking to us.
Still learning? Feel that.
It's no hard.
All right. Let's jump into it, and I guess kind of what we've started doing is just kind of any changes and stuff that you're seeing from the previous year that you have noted in here. You want to talk about those and then dive into anything else that you'd like to talk about on the budget. So.
The only thing up really on the general one, I think, is continuing education and then contingency. And that's just because more people going, you know, classes, you know, it's gonna cost more.
Okay.
We typically put the contingency in the county overall. Yeah. And then you guys can draw out of it if you need.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I want every department to understand, because I think the year before I got here, every department had a contingency part, and we just put it in an overall, because it's really available for everybody. We're not gonna let you fail if it's something you gotta have. So there is always the contingency there. It's just to me, it's a cleaner process, because it comes to the court and it's approved through there, and it's just a way of transparency through the budget amendment paperwork. Everybody sees how we're spending the tax money. So you have contingency.
Yeah, I think on the general, that was really the only two, is the continuing education and then mileage. Really, that we increased a little bit.
Okay.
You have publications in there. Is there something that you need that y'all publish? Or is that just a carryover that's in there?
That was in there, I assume it's for books. So
And you got the law library.
That's why I put, because there's a line item in both places for publication, so.
Yeah, we've gone to using the law library because it's built up so much. And so we've put, there's all you need, you will look at that, but there's, for every one of y'all, the county judge, district judge, and court of law, you, district attorney can all pull on that, publications and online resources out of the law library. It's really a lot.
How much is in that?
The law library, let me look. I think,
That's again, that's one of those dedicated
But there wasn't
funds that
anything
can only be
listed under
spent.
publications, that's why.
Required
yeah, on your main one.
to make
because-
law books available or online resources.
So when y'all are buying things, Lisa, everything is charged,
All the books that I have
like
to
if
have.
it's online or publications.
Yeah.
We're trying to take it to the law library. And it's got right now $175,000 that needs to be used for these publications. So,
It's a lot of books.
yeah, so we've
Yeah, but I
literally,
took it out of forfeiture. Paperwork this year. I mean, nobody told us that. I thought the online was just the law library and Alan and I share an account with Westlaw.
yeah, so when we get those bills, they're coding any of y'all's that they can to this publications and online. In the law library, it's broken down by all the guys that we have those services, so.
Have we been doing that?
Yeah, for a long time, ever since I've been here, pretty much.
I'll actually came out of forfeiture.
So for the future, be sure and try to use these if you want to, because there's a lot of resources here that, this has kind of gotten common, used to, the counties provide law libraries for the public and did a lot of things with books. And it's
It's
gotten
been a big
cheaper.
subject in my listserv thing too, about providing county libraries, because some, I guess, have these massive spaces, massive, but fairly large, true libraries with books, and that's not the way of the world, but how often, it used to be, but they're sit vacant, and so they're like, we were spending this money to update these books and to do this, and nobody
On the building.
uses it.
The same with the law library, we put contingency in there, so that, like what we saw last year, the new justice of the peace needed extra stuff, so we can bump that for you guys too, if you're ordering the publications, but we just kind of put like a $2,500 or whatever makes sense in those line items, and then if you need more than that, you just come to court and say, I'm gonna need more, we're pulling that over for my books and things that fall into that fund. But there's, like I said, $175,000 there, so we need to use it. Yeah. I don't think we'll touch that.
No.
Just for revenues.
I don't know, the books are pretty expensive, but they're not that
No.
expensive. I bought my own before I started.
And our semi usually replace the animal.
Yeah,
It's usually
two for, with the legislature. That's what
So that's in there, if you'd like, I'll put, there's more than we can ever use in that fund, so you don't need to use your forfeiture or your regular funds for it, your regular fund. So if you want, I'll zero this,
Yeah,
and then
that's
this
all
one,
that
you got
was,
plenty, yep.
that was what that was for.
Okay. We left them in, they had zero still that used to, they had a little balance, and so we carried those across, but, some of these we probably need to eventually remove from the budgets because they take a long time to carry these. Okay.
Next. Next. Next one, back here.
Leo's.
Got several.
Yep.
That's 0 and 0, then the next sheet I have is a 025. That's the law library. 046,
Where's that?
Not real change I see in there is just, line item in supplies this
Yeah,
year.
that was it.
We added the salary supplement to
The salaries.
so.
Have SB 22, have y'all applied?
We applied August the second.
That's right, second.
But we have to do our certification for our first.
Same time.
Yeah, so we've got some issues with it now, through that. Do that.
Okay.
So this is, I mean, that general fund too, but this fund is where it gets just a little bit hazy with our upcoming year because we have a transition, in the year. We'll have 3 attorneys.
We're being watched by millions, is what I tell everybody, and they can't hear you.
So, we have 3 attorneys in our office, right now, and we will until the end of December. And so, right now, one of them, the new assistant county attorney is being funded entirely by our Senate Bill 22 grant funds. And so she'll slide into the assistant county attorney position that's in our budget, in January. I'll slide into what's Lisa's spot right now in January, and our grant funds will be used in a different way to add and supplement staff in a different way. So there are some things in here that are for 3 months, and then some, so
Everybody's.
if you've got questions about how any of that's supposed to work.
With the grant,
Yeah, I mean, the grant's really the biggest change, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's ever evolving, and it wouldn't surprise me if it changes in January with the next round that they have after the state legislature.
Well, and so it's
gets
already
together.
working differently because we're getting it for our fiscal year now, whereas we couldn't apply till January of
Correct.
this year and then get the funds later. Now it's gonna follow our fiscal year, so we'll be able to apply in August and we'll have the funds for our entire fiscal year. But because our fiscal year is gonna be interrupted by another change that happens at the end of the calendar year, we've gotta be careful. There's a lot of math involved in how we're applying these grant funds now.
Right.
Yeah, so it's different. But the intention is to go from, we have 3 attorneys right now, and then 2 staff members, well, 3 staff members, plus 1 that's pretrial, 1 that's covered by pretrial, with 3 other staff members, and so, in January, we'll have 2 attorneys, and our hope is to have an investigator, to help with intake, and we've been missing that piece for a while in that office, so. grant funds will be
So
fine.
utilize the funds you're using for the 3rd attorney or portion of those funds for investigation.
That's right.
This is more process related, I guess, for me. When we're doing our head count for the budget, do we need to add that? Do we need to approve that head count when we're doing the salary stuff? To be, well, if we know that they're adding it in the middle, I don't wanna run into issues.
Well, we're not,
until
and see, that's the thing, our
We're not
intention
sure.
is to hire the investigator at the beginning of the fiscal year. If we're able
Okay.
to do that, we're gonna have to
You know,
move
that's
some of the grant money from last year and the new grant money around to get that done. But,
Okay.
so that investigator will be.
You're trying to have somebody start September.
Yes, if we can do that, the idea would be have them start October, September,
Yeah.
whatever, and then October
October,
first,
I
and
keep
then,
saying September first.
yeah. And then,
I've talked too much juvenile, but
the idea is that we would hit the ground running January first, fully staffed and mostly trained and ready to go.
all right. And then 57. All looks pretty much the same. That's the hot. What is 57? Hot
Hot check.
check?
Yeah. So
It's
that's,
just becoming a,
yeah, I mean, the expenses don't change on that, that's the one we'll move the other salary supplement to.
There's really not, and on that one, I just put the grand total of the cash and the contingency, so you can do whatever you want with it.
again, that's one of those restricted funds, so that's why that one has a separate contingency, because it's a restricted fund that she has control over. So this one doesn't get put in the.
It's got $2,600 right now, so I'll put 25 in there, but.
Yeah, and we're fixing to transfer 13,000 to it from the other hot check. That we have.
Why is there two separate accounts for it?
I'm not sure why it was set up that way, it was that way when I got here.
Yeah.
And so right now, when we collect a hot check, it gets deposited into our bank account, our hot check bank account. We then write checks to the merchants, and then we write checks to ERAF County for our fees. That goes into the hot check account that shows up on the budget. Now, why it was set up that way, I have no idea.
I think it's kind of a
So,
holding account,
yeah, so
Until you
that's just the
settle
way,
yes.
yeah.
Trust, so it stays there till you settle with the merchant, and then
Yeah.
move it out of that.
Transfer
That makes
everything.
more sense.
But there's like 15,000 in that that's never been transferred over. So we're gonna transfer 13,000 to cover the salary supplement that we're at.
When you get really confused, start looking juvenile and adult probation plans.
Well, I'm just, that makes sense.
Right.
Put it on hold until
Till it's a settled,
Till it's settled.
basically. Anything else?
We're just really not as interesting as Colby, I'm sorry. We're not saving quite as many lives every day, but we are doing good work over there, I promise.
More than good work. Doing good work. All right. We appreciate it. Any questions anybody else have for them while we're here?
Can you all get all your SBT worked out? Let us know, define the way you want to do it, and then I'll try to work it in. And y'all okay with that.
We're still waiting to get numbers to know exactly if we have to do it. Because we don't know how much is left for this year.
Do you need, who do you need numbers from? Us?
The audit.
Okay.
Saw something yesterday or something that said, how much does this fund have? Is that what you meant with one SB 22?
Yeah.
So I think
Trying to
that
figure out how much is left for this,
We just need to take what we got and take out what we spent. Okay.
with the insurance reimbursement.
Yeah, and some of that has to move out.
yeah.
It's kind of tricky, we're just paying like a sheriff's is easier, even though it's a lot more. We're paying all their expenses out of the sheriff fund and then moving it over, because we can identify exactly what goes over. When we code it straight out of the grant fund, like y'all's doing, or the district attorneys, it actually applies insurance and things based on the percentage of the total income, but that's got to come back out. And so I have to make those adjustments, maybe do a quarterly or something, but it's time to look at that and see what's been moved over to build on there. It's a system that.
Is there a way to change it though? Because my concern is that part of what we have to certify is that the funds haven't been used for any prohibited purpose.
Right.
And so it looks like initially that they are, even though it's reimbursed.
Yeah, I talked to the two different outside audit firms, and also the comptroller's office asked if they had any problems if we're adjusting those things in and out, as long as the end result is what was actually occurred. And so what they would look at is, we'll pull those employees you have and say, okay, this is all that's supposed to be in there. And if we make adjustments, that's okay. And so it's sometimes easier on something like that to make an adjustment than it is to change the way the system's set up right now. And that's what we have to find out, is how hard is it to make it where it doesn't do that application. Because that was normal up until we started getting these weird, grants and things. So, it's not a big deal to adjust it out, and then it will show properly.
Except that your office is the one making the adjustment, and I'm the one who's gonna be signing certifying that
I'll
all
let
is
you
done,
see
that's
what
why
we do
it's
then.
weird.
Yep,
you know.
I have to do the adjustment. So, once we do, then we'll run by y'all and say, does that look back in or something? But I've gotta run history, like, even for the sheriff's department, I have to run history on all the payroll and code to the grant fund. And in the case of new ones, you can take the insurance. And then we've got some that are just supplements, so we can't. So that's why we look at all that and go, I gotta straighten this out, so. But I'll get with you. And you see what we're doing.
Like I said, I think this is a statewide with this SB 22 and how it's rolled out. I think we'll see some different changes to it in January, not in January, but by the end of the session on how it's allocated and how it's done. It's not gonna go away, but there may be some better language. I think it's not great language, the way the bill is written. So,
If we can change that though, where it does get to where we like that too. I just have to figure it out. This was a new issue with this grant, so.
that's all I got. Thank y'all. Appreciate your hard work. I don't see Lonnie, so do y'all wanna take need a
Yeah, let's take
Couple minutes.
let's take a break until it's 10:21, let's take a break till 10:30.
Yep. So what is Senate Bill 22?
Senate Bill 22,
Give me-
state legislature authorized $1,500 account money for $350,000 per year. So we get that All right, we are all back in.
Still, you're a good girl, I don't care what they're gonna say about you.
We are back in session, and up next is AgriLife. You would come up there, you wanna go over, changes you've got, or anything related to your budget?
Okay, again, we thank you so much for what y'all do with our budget. Y'all make us look good, so we greatly appreciate what y'all do for us. Again, we have a pretty simple budget. You see the top third is pretty general, everyday happenings. We get on down to supplies. We did increase that by $500. Kind of help with purchases. We all know things are going up, so we went up a little bit there. Continuing education, I know there's still quite a bit left in that budget, but right now is when we're hitting our professional development meetings and things like that, and some of it may be a little light because Andrea's on maternity leave, so that will all change next year as we go through that. Of course, then the general fuel, we left the same, not knowing our travel for next year, mileage reimbursement. That's just whenever both vehicles are out and the third agent needs to travel somewhere, and I think some of it's used for banking and office type work too, so that gets turned in, so that's where that money goes. Going into programming, again, a lot of those funds are being pulled out here through the summer months and that's also gonna be a little lighter due to Andrea being out. Livestock shows, we keep pretty well the same, and Thomas does a real good job attending all the shows, supporting the kids all through the show, and as well as you know, we're up over 400 now in the 4-H club, so it's growing, and he's doing a good job of supporting that. And on our equipment capitalized, we did $3,000. A lot of the equipment with our binders, laminators, stuff like that, that stuff's been in the office since before I moved here 10 years ago. It's getting where it's wore out, and we're needing to update that stuff. And of course, we always keep a little bit for computers. You never know when one's gonna blow up on you or something like that. And of course, we're updating our computers and information on them. So that's kind of where we are on that budget. As far as professional development, it could be a little bit more. I was just voted in and accepted a position of Vice Director of the Southern Region. So I'll be representing the Southern Region from Texas to Florida, Arkansas, Alabama, Virginia, all in that area. So I'll be attending some meetings nationally. And so there may be a little travel. I know the National Association, State Association will pay some of that. I might need some help with some travel and hotel expense. So that's where that'll come from.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And you got that in your budget for your extra travel next year?
Yes, it should be okay. And of course, it'll get better. Once I become a director, then the National Association will pay for everything. So there's just a couple of years where I'll pick up some travel and things like that.
One thing I did in your budget is we moved it from capital to non-capital, because it's under 3,000. Still there, I just wanted to see what it is.
Right.
The orange, I moved you down.
Okay.
Anything 5,000 and above that's got multiple years of use is capitalized. Anything else we put in, we want to track it down to non.
Well, sure.
Otherwise it supplies.
Sure.
I just moved that down this year. We started remodeling this year because of the changes in our accounting rules. If it hits that capital account, it's got to be 5,000. I think that's a catch-all for, not you, but for others as well, across the county, so we just kind of clean it up, so. That's all I'm moving.
Vehicles are all good?
Vehicles are all
Is this
good.
the first year or the second year of the vehicles?
I guess we're in the
The second year? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Maybe third.
Yes, it's been real nice. They're all running great and doing everything we need to do, so that's been really nice. Ours is plain and simple, so.
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
You're doing a great job representing the Erath County. I mean, the youth and the
Very
programs that y'all are doing, it's fantastic.
We appreciate, I can tell you, when I talk with other counties in the state, and I can tell you, they envy us on a lot of things, so. Yeah,
It's nice.
it's good.
We're proud to have you.
Lonnie, did we decide what we were gonna do with your storage shed? I don't know if you talked to the commissioner about the big yellow one over there.
I did, I mentioned it to Dee. I don't know if you had time to talk to David
No.
or where we can move that thing.
Well, I figure out how to get moved.
I can tell you I lack probably, I've been trying to do a little bit at a time so I don't fill all our dumpsters around here. I lack probably a load or two having
it cleaned out.
down there.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out how to get it moved out, John Deere.
What is it?
The tank storage building that's over on the other lot, that belongs to.
Oh, they're about to sing there. Won't move it out to UCLA out there?
We can pull it up on the land out, can't we, or can we get it out or not?
Probably so.
Pull it up on that land out.
You know, we'd rather.
Everybody had a land though.
Yeah, brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there may be an opportunity, I know with our.
We do.
Oh, we do.
We don't have them
A lot of
anymore.
equipment, so there
We
may
do.
be- we can
Jokes
keep-
fly.
They store some of their stuff in there.
Yeah, I haven't got with David, I'll get with David and see where.
They have not gotten back with me and mentioned, that's why I kind of started cleaning a little bit.
Yeah.
So they don't say yes one day and
Right.
try to figure out where to go the full run myself. I'll be glad to help you with that.
We'll figure it out, get it moved.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. Yes, sir.
Yep.
While she is walking to the podium, it does a little budgetary, because I got another, pop in my head, because I had another citizen ask me about getting the seal or some building markings on her building. Because I had somebody go, I didn't even know that was a county building, and I'm like, well,
I'm just gonna have to go to another source, because I'm not getting any response from them.
do you want us to look at, like, I don't know who did this building, but I'm sure, one of the local shops has some form of.
We're talking about just having the county seal cut out, steel, we're having the whole thing put on there, and that's what we've talked about multiple times with them. But
That's not.
it hadn't come to fruition yet. I've got another guy I can contact about maybe doing it.
Okay.
I think it would look cool. We were talking like 5 foot.
I know a guy that I think will do it, he's got a water.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to look at that, and then we need to, what I would suggest, we need to talk to our vendors that do the signage and put,
Oh, they're busy.
tax,
He could do it.
county
I've seen
clerk,
some of this stuff.
tax collector office, and have it right there, maybe to the right, where have the seal above it, but we still need some identification
Who's
on
in
there, and what it is on that front side. Maybe we can look at that. All right. You ready?
Okay.
We're ready. Go for it.
Um,
I'm trying to find.
before we start, I will say, thank y'all for the building, we love it, we love it.
If there's.
Hopefully someday we'll get all the bugs out of it.
But even with the bugs, it's wonderful, and it works so well. It works good for the voting, and it's good.
I think it's nice, we never get, things are working.
All right, let's just start in your main fund if you want.
In my main fund, I didn't really change anything, I just left it pretty much the way it was. No real changes there.
Okay, staffing levels, things like that.
I have a Charlene who did elections and also does my courts. And so, elections are gonna go, hoping, they're going away. But Charlene will stay with me because she's my courts person. And so, that position will need to be there. Do you want me to talk about, what we talked about,
Yep.
chief deputy and all of that?
Yep.
The way I am set up right now, it's set up like I have one office, but I have 2 offices in 2 different buildings. And back when I very first started, or when I took office, we were in one office, and, over here. And it was easy to cross-train, and you could learn and hear and do, because we were all together in the same thing. We didn't have software, we just had a pencil, paper, and it was easy. Then when Jennifer left and went to the old jail, half of my office went over here. About that time, we got software. Well, the whole office got the same software, and so you could still help and cross-train and go across the hall. And then a little bit later, we got a separate software for the land. And that kind of makes a division where this office has this software, and this office has this software. And as different people leave that were cross-trained, it's harder to cross-train across the hall. Well, now they're over here in this office.
They're across the parking lot and across 2 streets.
They're across the street. I only have one person that knows
Both sides.
courts, and she'll be retiring soon. I don't mean immediately, but I mean, and it's just, we have tried to do it, but it's hard. It's separate software. It's not like Tractor Supply and Tractor Supply. It's like Tractor Supply and Kentucky Fried Chicken. There's nothing, the language is different, everything about it is different. And so, I have one chief deputy, and she's the girl that knows everything. Well, when she leaves, that's gonna be, so I'm proposing that I have a chief deputy in this office and a chief deputy in this office, so that when I'm not there, that they would be responsible and could oversee this and oversee over here. So, that's kind of the way I put it in the budget, that I would have a chief deputy.
So it'd really just be changing it's not adding a position,
No,
it's
just making
changing
a title
the
change.
responsibility and title
And
change.
responsibilities and duties. So that's what I want to do there. My staffing is fine, because Charlene will be full-time in that office. And my staff over here is good. 3 and 3, it works very well for my office. I did put in there, in my record preservation fund, but I put in an additional part-time worker to do back scanning. I did have 2 in the courts side, but back when we were moving, I hired a temporary person to help us get ready for the books, and moved and wrapped the books and cleaned everything, and so I had a part-time person there. After that, I lost my part-time person, so I just kept Emily, and she's been working over here and helping out in the land records. So I would like to add that back over to the courts and have another part-time.
And that's out of your records
Out of records
preservation.
preservation. But my staffing is very good.
All right. We're going to dive into some of those, we talked about that. One of the things that you talked about before we dive into your special funds, talked about lighting in the vault.
Yes.
And possibly looking at a solution. I did go and look, and y'all can go look. Hers are taller, closer to the ceiling than Jennifer's. And so when they move to a certain area, it basically blacks out those lights, and I don't know the solution, because I played, but y'all might go look at her vault and think about it.
See, we have a flashlight that we can carry with us and look, but
Lantern.
it just would be nice if we could figure out adding more
A
lights.
flashlight and a 50-pound book that you've got.
Problem, the problem you got, I mean, because the aisle moves, you know, I mean, the aisle's not always in the same spot. I mean, it depends on how far you got this one scooted over and how far this one's gonna
And
be.
had them odd lights, maybe you would have light, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
instead of having light,
Staggered.
staggered, okay. But I'll pay for the lights, or something, it's dark and it's hard to see.
That'd be a use, because you put in here, that could be a use out of your, records management.
You only have 324,000. Probably get you some light.
Get you a good lantern.
Could we use those for lights at the
Chargeable for vinyl caps.
Maybe we could use them for here.
Yeah,
Yeah, get one for Albert too.
yeah, that's right. We can get one here under plan. There you go.
It's related to records preservation, be easy enough.
Yeah.
You know,
That's nuts.
Okay, and then And we have talked about this, and it's in your building, and you mentioned it, we talked about it. Looking at putting some soundboard material in the conference room, the new conference room around the top to deaden the sounds. It can be pretty boxy and loud during voting and.
Or even if you have a room
If
full
you
of
have
people, a
meetings.
conference or whatever, it's just so echoey in there,
So that probably would come out of, just facilities building thing, but that's something for us to think about, that I don't think it would be that expensive. Put some little sound tiles up in there to help it. Absorb.
Wanda said, that they have those in the district court room, so we might figure out who.
Who did those?
Or,
I'm not even certain we couldn't, quite frankly, with our facilities, we couldn't build those with the board and buy the material and wrap them and have them upholstered and attach them to the wall ourselves. But I think that's something.
You think the noise is coming over the wall, over the top of in the false ceiling? Or do you think it's?
No, it's just when that's many people, it's just, when they're in there, it's just a box, it's just a box.
Just keep
Nothing,
bouncing.
it's hard floor, hard ceiling.
Just like here, it's just bouncing sound from sound to side.
everything echoes.
Yeah. Perfect, all right, let's move into your,
So she's got several records management we just looked at. If we wanna go in depth in it, but what we've done is where we know we have expenses every year, we budget that. And then the leftover, that extra we put in contingency, so that you can use it any way you need to. But we never know, and if we guess, well, it's supplied and this and that, so it makes it so much easier. If there's records management and the, what did I say? 324,000 plus 425, she's got $800,000.
I've talked to my software provider for, Tyler, and they do, indexing, and so they have a team where, no, actually it's not Tyler, it's Cobalt, and they have all my I have all my records scanned, and so I can just send them a digital file of those records, and their staff can index those for me. And I have talked to them and just getting it started and just, here, do this section of books. So that's what I would like to do. And my goal eventually is to just have everything indexed from front to back that we have. I have all my records scanned, and we index as we go, but we don't have time to go backwards. So I'm gonna do that this next year. Also, a record project that I have is, I have some old probate records that are historic. They're paper, just probate files, and I cannot get rid of those. Right now, everything we do, we can scan and shred it, but these are historic, and so I have to keep them. And so, so I can use the archive money, and gonna have a co-file. I have an appointment with them to come and check and look at them and give me a quote for them. So I've got some big projects coming up this next year.
It's interesting what all one they have, that's records management, records archive, records
a lot of money.
preservation. And then you have to look and see which one can be used for what.
For which product.
So
But the
here's-
archive fee is for the old records and the maintenance of those.
And they've got 368,000 there. Another thing you've used, a little this year, but I think we've started kind of trying to look at those and say, all right, you put the whole amount in contingency and then keep it in the archive. Because you never know, sometimes they'll call and say, we got availability. You didn't even think about it, and all of a sudden they can come in and do something, so we have a ready to go.
this next year with no loading going on, we can just kind of try to focus more on, the records.
And then there's
34, that's the one you've got, the 500,000.
actually 34 has just $11,000. 34 is preservation, which, what defines preservation versus management versus archive?
Preservation, you can't use for digitation. And it could be a newer book and not an older book, but the other is I can use for computers, for scanners, for software.
And that's the technology. That's another one.
Well, that's, yeah.
A lot of them. Yeah.
But that's my big pocket one, is that records management.
Yes, and archive's doing pretty good, and then we've got preservation. Then we step down to, she's got technology, and that's 39, let me see what kind of money we got, and I'll look there. It's 63 years later. I think y'all did some things in the past few years, maybe.
Yeah, updated computers. Or scanners.
So you got lots of record management stuff you can use, right?
Yes.
And then,
But if I have someone indexing those records, it's gonna put a big bid in that pretty fast, but that's what it's for, so that's what I want.
Right.
It would make a lot of people happy too, that use our records online.
It's, I think like I told Judge Martin, Judge Alexander, because he has the biggest budget, he's got, we've got 140-something thousand sitting over here in a restricted JP Technology Fund. Let's find something that would better the service of what we're doing or where we're at with this. I agree with you. Sitting there. Any questions, anything else? We appreciate you. I don't think most people know what all the duties of a county clerk, but probably that was a good lesson for them to learn about two off, not them, but the community. Two completely separate jobs, really, that you have to learn, so.
And thanks for the EA.
All right. Let's take an hour break. Come on up, Ms. Shaba. Nine minutes wasn't long.
Just say.
This won't take
It's weird.
Okay,
You're up, so we just, if you wanna talk about, you know, I think you don't have a bunch of different funds like we've just got done going through.
No,
so
I do not.
If you wanna just talk about yours and changes that you've had, and then we'll dive off to anything from there.
Yeah, really, there's no changes. I mean, everything's good there.
Nothing in that column.
No.
All's good,
All is
staffing's good,
Yes, sir, all is good.
computer, you know, equipment, all that's in good shape.
Yes.
Perfect.
if only all our departments were like that.
Short and sweet.
All good.
My kind of road. All right, well, y'all have any questions
You win,
for the budget that stays the same?
you win, you get the shortest time.
Just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an amazing job.
Good job.
Thank
Sit
you.
right ahead.
Thank you, appreciate that. Thank y'all.
Got a good team. All right,
Okay.
well, thank you.
Sweet.
Wasn't hard to work.
trip down. You could've mailed it in.
Should've made a way to hours for that.
The only one left we have is pre-trial as far as department, but, we're fine, cause we need to, and I wanted to talk with all y'all with Kent on this, with the EA spot. We're creating a completely separate department, and what do we, I guess, my question is more to Kent and then for us to talk through. Elections, of course, is a budget item, or it is a department.
Already have a department.
In ours.
Yes.
We might need to look at, of course, it's gonna add the staffing that's over there. There's no added staffing, it's just people coming from different departments, over there. And really, there isn't a lot of changes, except for some equipment stuff, and I would say, do you have the elections? Is that it? What is the
490, around 490 is elections, and this is in the general fund department.
what's the variance from what we've been spending to what is requested in this? Of course, it's not gonna have salaries in there, the salaries are in other departments that are coming out. So.
Let's see, so what we got, let's mess up. So, really, all we guess this is what they're saying they're gonna need. I hadn't talked to them.
I think based off these sheets, that's what, I think there's some software expense that's gonna go up.
60. So right now, we're showing a 42,000 increase in that pay.
Okay. And I think a lot of this stuff is based off my sheets here. The election administrator has to have a bond, which is $500, but the software, and if y'all remember, Vote Tech, I wish I didn't remember, but Vote Tech came to us midway, probably several months ago, I don't remember when that was, and we had to vote and spend some extra money to them. So I think the fees, that's why they're going up. And that was one of those things across the state of Texas too. There's only like 2 or 3 of those providers. And
This was cash.
yeah, Cash was having issues. Software cost, and then, the printing service, and then,
Seeing big, I mean, here's continuing education, of course, it's gonna go up, so, let's look at all of this. So we'll put salaries in, whenever you guys come up with that, and then there's little increases on some of these things, continuing education, software, and then these two, I don't know what's planned, I'm gonna move all of it into the non-capital, instead of having it in capital cover everything. So it's the same number, but I guess are they getting computers, do they need them and everything?
not, transferring one. EA will be new because, of course, she's the chief deputy now, so that stuff will stay in there because it's got all that appropriate software and stuff in there. So one there and then one, so 2 new computers, but then I believe the stuff that's in the elections registration office is moving over, so won't be all of it.
Gwenda's let us hijack this a little bit this year. This is her budget currently. And, what we said we would do is, in fact, I think this year we've been spending some money out here, so we'll do a budget adjustment to clean all that up. But same thought as earlier, why not go ahead and start doing that now? And then next year it'll be less cost, so.
That'll all stay in the same building, just
different, they're just moving to where I think it was originally intended for the extension that time.
Their little training room.
I wasn't here, but that where, if you walk past it recently, right there on the left, where it's a
Right
ballot
across from the
board,
restrooms.
right across from the bathrooms, it's already set up, facilities went in, for some reason, the front desk was really short. And so he went up and they lifted it up and it looks really nice. Can't really even tell they did anything except it's taller, so. Went in there and then they've got to move that. The Elections Commission, which is who hires EA, we've met several times. I think we've gotten several people that have applied. I think, we have internal people as well that have applied, been part of the process, so, but it has to be open to everybody, so I think we're trying to set up those interviews, beginning of August, where they interview with the Elections Commission, which is myself, Jennifer, Gwenda, and then the Republican Party chair and the Democrat Party chair by state statute, all state statute, sit on that board. I think the commission's hope is that they can come, that looks good. The commission's hope is that they can come to the court shortly after that for approval, and I believe that the ask will be to try to have them start on September 1st instead of October 1st, because of the presidential election in November, to try to find some, quite frankly, the funds are already there with the staffing, because we're just moving people over. It might be a little adjustment for one or two of them, but have that office actually start on September 1st instead of October 1st, because of try to have 2 months before the November election. That's all I know on elections. But we probably just keep it just like this.
This will be that new department, existing department, but just add salaries. Because winter won't need it anymore like this. And then we have a contract.
Linda's right back there. Asking for Jennifer, they're out here. She can add a lot of stuff to that, though.
Jennifer's chapter 19 funds will roll into that office too.
Okay.
And then we collect those, how do we get those funds?
I know this one.
Okay, yeah.
We spend them on things that qualify under that chapter 19, and then they reimburse it.
Is that state or federal?
I think it's 8, but I'm not sure. And then we have an elections fund as well for contractor elections. And so that the new people will use. And it's the same way as when we conduct, help me if I miss it, but for cities and schools, it's gotta go through there and they pay in, and then there's an admin fee comes out to us, and the rest stays in there for them to run it.
And the fees that we charge, and so that fund grows, so we can use that to buy new equipment and update software.
And we currently run the elections for everybody, every entity, so every ISD, every municipality.
As a county clerk, that is optional.
I've got plenty of junk.
No, all I had to do was just the time.
Right.
When we got to do, electronic machines back in, when we got those, it was, the whole county paid for it, so I didn't feel like it was fair for them to have to do something different.
They have to go buy their own machines.
Yeah, and so I just started holding everybody's, and everybody was.
But you have agreements where they pay.
They pay, yes.
Okay.
But it's very reduced fee of what they would have to pay to use the equipment. They're just renting it.
Right.
Not like having to purchase a mainframe software.
I missed? I think that, of course, we've already approved the position, but I think listening to Wendy and Jennifer, there's just so much more that's gone into it. With training, everyday duties, that I think this is a smart decision for us, so, to have specialized people working on it. You think, well, there's only an election every once in a while, well, there's a lot of daily tasks that go into ensuring the voter rolls are correct, updated.
Yeah, registrations every day.
And with more people coming here, it's one of those things that's impacted too. Anything else on elections? Okay. What do you want to dive into? What, salaries? You dive off into that?
You mentioned the salaries and the, tax calculation, which is a guess right now.
Let's start with the tax calculation, because you gotta know what you might be getting before you can decide if you're gonna, what you would be able to do.
I'm gonna qualify this. It may or may not be within $1 million. We're guessing. So
we should have our certified estimates on the 25th. You want to? Sure. Let's pop her. It won't take long. Come on in. Actually, if you'll go to the microphone, we're live. You're good.
Yep.
We're live streaming to the world, so no pressure.
Good morning.
Here's pre-trial office is an office. Paula came on board in, when did you start?
February.
Works under Judge Thompson. And so, fairly straightforward budget for you too, so. No pressure. The treasurer's office took 30 seconds, so.
Try to beat that.
Yeah. Any changes or that you have on here, or things that you anticipate?
The only thing was, IT, Colby Reynolds said that I need a new computer. I don't know how old that is, but he said it's several years old.
Okay.
But as far as anything else, the continuing education, from what I understand, the previous pretrial officer got that increased for a very important state conference, and so that's taken care of, so I can't think of anything else I need at the moment.
When McColby gives us our numbers, we'll populate that for you on the.
He did have in his sheet, her stuff was on there, so that is in the works.
He gave me a dollar amount. That's,
Yes,
yeah.
Supplies seem efficient.
So far, now that office was vacant for, I think, 8 months or something like that, but, I've gotten everything I needed so far and still have leftovers right now. So I think that would be suffice for the year.
Okay. All right, it's pretty simple.
Yep.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Any questions? Wow, they don't see what you do all the time, but you're doing a great job, and we are very glad.
How many people do you have right now?
On bond conditions, I believe the 75, about 75. It just depends. Sometimes I lose a
There may be
couple in a
more when
week.
I go today.
Sometimes I get 5 or 6 over the weekend, so the average is about 75.
It's good for you having fun.
I love it.
Good.
We brought her to the good thing.
It was a good change.
Yeah. She's been with the Steamboat Police Department.
With Stephen Mulcahy, 15 years. 2 with Benbrook.
Welcome aboard.
Glad to be here. Thank y'all.
since February.
Yes.
Well,
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank y'all.
Yes, ma'am. Jonathan did a really, really good job. And
Where do you go?
he went to be an SRO with Morgan Mill. And then finding somebody was fairly difficult, and there are so many restrictions with bond reform and all that stuff that being able to bring somebody in with that experience, especially that has that experience with, of those 75 people she's monitoring now, she's probably had dealings with 74.
Probably knows them, yeah.
So having somebody that can come in and do that
Have a
and manage
relationship
through
with
that
them.
has been fantastic. She's done a really, really good job. All right, revenues.
And walk through it, and
Yeah.
I'll just kind of try to tell y'all what I did.
Certified will be on the 25th, and then we'll know exactly what that number is. We're really kind of using it, the estimated total was given to us about a month or so ago. It was between 6 billion and 6.3 billion. We're going at conservative to know what that is. When you're dealing with no new revenue formula, you still can collect the amount of new built construction and its tax value above what the no new revenue is when we do. This is a 9-page formula that we have to fill out and sign that Kent has this amazing, I don't even know, I couldn't sit down and make this, but it's all tied together. So we don't know what that exact number is to tell you what our increase would be at no new revenue really. Because we just don't have that, we don't have that number.
I don't know if Jennifer would know ballpark what the new properties are. You could calculate it.
Yeah, and I'll ask Jonathan, I'll see if we can do it, but we're, what is it, 18? We're 7 days away from them for sure having it directly in front of us, or to do it, but this gives us a good estimate to know about where we would be in these scenarios. Now, if we're really at 6.3 billion, that's 300 million more added onto that would.
So we were originally told 5.3 billion. I think was the first sheet we received, and Jennifer said, chunk it, it's gonna be. And then I heard 6.3, and then I talked to Jennifer, we said, let's go with 6 until we know the real numbers, just to kind of get an idea. And so what I've done, if I plug 6 million in here, and I know that road and bridge values are gonna be a little bit different from that 6 billion, but I'm gonna use the same for both of them right now. And what it does, it calculates and says that now 2.338 is your no new revenue rate. It was 2.87 is the rate that we used before for the, this is general fund M&O. And so it takes and says on this new value, to generate the same amount of dollars last year, what's the rate gonna be? It's gonna be that. So it's dropped significantly again. And then we say, well, there's the debt portion, and I'll just go over this real quick with you and then we'll change a few things. Debt is what it is. If this makes sense, it doesn't matter what it takes to service that debt. It's not included in our rollbacks and things like that because they voted for that debt. So whatever it takes based on this to generate $464,000 is what we put in, and it has no effect on the rollbacks or anything else. And so it takes 0.007 to generate that, and that's our last year for this.
And this is our last year of having any debt until we do, if we do something else.
Yeah.
It will return.
Oh, yeah, it's not going away.
It'll probably be a lot more than that.
Yeah, it'll be a lot more than one. Kent and I actually, this is an interesting exercise that I didn't do until yesterday.
Yes.
We went back and we looked at every building that Erath County has built. And by far the most expensive one we've ever done, not by far, but by 2 million, was the jail expansion. Annex, the new annex was right at 8. The jail was about 10 something, 9 something, nearly 10. Annex was 8. This Justice Center over here, which we thought would be more, was like 1.3.
Yeah.
$1.4 million when they built that. So, we all have done a really good job of managing assets, building to where we're at, but as we were talking earlier, now comes the next steps of, we've got 2 JP courts coming in the next 5 years, where do we house them? At some point, I know the juvenile office was a temporary solution that's turned into, I think, 8 years, 7, 8 years, it's been there. Maybe longer than that?
$21,000 a year.
Yeah, we're paying $21,000 a year for an old home, quite frankly. It comes with all the things. So those things, on court days, that building over there is full. There's nowhere to, they've changed. Paula's office is actually the attorney's, is the attorney meeting room. We're just finding places to put people. And so that's where, I think on that debt thing, we've got to start thinking what strategically makes sense for us to do next.
Unfortunately, I think it's gonna go from 464,000 this year to maybe, what would we guess, 30, 40 million?
Depends on what we.
Depending on, because it's justice centers.
I know, I looked at, going through Joe's stuff, I found some correspondence and stuff that he left behind. Like $25 million for the new criminal justice center, that's what the rough estimate was, and that was last year. So
30, easy.
yeah, nothing stays the same.
Well, it only makes sense,
Plain
you know,
now.
that's got to go.
Yeah,
They gotta go somewhere, they're wrong.
Well, and
But we can bring.
well, but that's where your JP's, because it's got the courtroom set up.
Yeah.
Adult probation has to be with the court, so wherever we put it, adult probation can go to a new facility, and you could move juvenile into where adult is. There's some, we'd have to build a wall with a door, because there's some access stuff. But to me, that's the things, the conversations we need to be having probably over the course of this year upcoming, of what we really need to do that, because if we decided today that's what we were gonna do, we know we're how many years away from actually doing it.
That's a heavy ball to try to get rolling.
And some of that stuff's gonna be mandated in 2030, and I know 2030 seems like a long way away, and none of us maybe even sitting here, but, we've gotta be ready, because it's not very,
5 years ago.
yeah, it's not very far,
5.5.
to add 2 new JP offices, constables, all the stuff that comes with it. So, something to think about, that, I only brought that up because of the debt.
Yeah.
That debt is going away after this year, the jail will be paid off.
Such a small amount but, so, what we're doing, this calculates all this for me, and then what it shows is right now we've got the same rates, and rounding a little bit, it's no new revenue. So what we can do is go between the no new revenue rate and this. That's your voter approval rate down the far right, 2688. And what that is 3.5 cents more, yeah. And so,
And we can go, I don't know, we can go all the way to that. If we go above that, the voters have to vote.
usually we'll stay under it. Like you said, if you use that rate, which would be kind of scary if I miss it a little bit, but if you use that rate, it doesn't automatically kick a vote or anything. So we've always kind of tried to stay a little under, even though we don't have to. If we start playing with this number and going up, you can see real quick, what do you want to use? 2.6? just use 2600. That's gonna generate $1.5 million more.
But, and you need to go, for road and bridge.
We can go up to, right now it's 0776 if we're not in revenue, so if I go 0.1100, you're at $3.5 million more that will generate off of that from last year. Don't hold me to any of these numbers till we have real stuff, but this has been pretty reliable. I've used it for a long time. And it calculates pretty close to what that 15-pager does, but it's, it doesn't have a lot of things like the rolling stocks, things like that that Jennifer put in on her calculation. This is great for us to test it with, and it usually picks up if something's missing, but I need to see what they generate. But anyway, this is what we were doing yesterday, and so a new rate of 377 is still less than what we had last year.
And we can play with those rates, so if road and bridge needed to stay higher and M&O general, you know, it doesn't have to be an equal as long as we're under what reserve. So, there's room to play and see and address, and
You know,
We're very fortunate, we're very fortunate.
we're in a different position than
With our growth and everything, you know, makes this easy.
yeah,
You go out in West Texas.
they don't have any,
Yeah.
there's no avenue.
Well, I was telling him, Johnson County last year, I was looking at their budget, but they did not go new revenue, but they didn't go much more than that, but no new revenue for them because of the growth.
Yeah,
There's nearly like $7 million added to their.
You know, Sherman's realistic thoughts here. You know, there's $3.4 million more a year that's gonna be generated. We got 5 years to plan for our justice center. There's in any other expansions that we're gonna need, you have to build this into where it's gonna be when we get to this 5-year period. We have to build what we're needing now, what we're gonna need then. We have to start building now. The only way to build this revenue and build this still where all these components work together is you have to raise the rate to a certain place.
And we've talked about that, about if the court would, you know, we justice centers we've talked about here multiple times. We're never gonna have enough money to pay for the whole thing, at what estimates are. But if we can dedicate a certain amount of funds, like we've done in the past, I mean, y'all did pay for the whole annex back with cash up front.
But if you can generate
A tenth of it.
money every year, the way interest rates are right now, the way things are paying, you know, if you generate 10% of it, in 5 years, you'll have 70% of it, or 80% of it, because you're gonna make money on the money you generate every year, and that will make it, instead of 50% in 5 years, you know, 10% a year, you're gonna be up there at 75%.
I agree, I just think I think we need to find a certain amount that we're comfortable with and restrict it, not, I mean, we'd say it's restricted, it's in the general fund, but designate it towards capital buildings project, and every year
Put
it's
it in
going in
textbook,
there.
or put it in whatever, and
help
make
us
money
pay
with
for
the
that.
money that we get this year, and next year, and next year.
Because I think that will save, that, at the end of the day, that will save our taxpayers money.
You bet, save a lot of money. But it will also, you know, you don't know what your interest rates are gonna be in 5 years. You know, they've gone up to 7, you know, to 9%, 7% now.
That's
I
why.
mean, in the county, you'll get, the county rates are better than that, but still,
Yeah,
in
if you
5 years, you don't know whether they'll be back down to 1.12.
And then we make a decision based on, when we need to do that, we can make a decision based on what those. Because if it's down to 2 again, it might make more sense to borrow.
to borrow, if it's down there, if you're making that much gains on your money in the bank, it's better off to hang on to it.
We have about $1 million left in capital projects that we literally took and moved over there over the last couple of years and paid for that increase. This last 23 from all the revenue over our expenses. We budgeted to spend probably $5 million more than we brought in, but we actually spent $5 million less. That's a $10 million swing. So we did really well this last year. You'll see that coming up here next week. We'll talk about that. But we increased our reserves and our fund balance by $5 million. We're at about 15 million unrestricted, undesignated, unrestricted for the general fund. And I think the precincts are a couple of $1 million in there. That's not unheard of. 15 million for us is about a half a year's surplus for the general fund. We were $32 million last year. And so 32 million in and 29 out, went up to 5 million extra. But we also put a lot of reserves out. You know, when we first started this, we did $3.5 million on retirement. We did 7.5, 8 million out of pocket on that. So you guys have managed their money really well.
Next problem we got, as in the Justice Center, we're gonna have to do a jail expansion in the next 5, 8 years probably too.
We've talked about that, and, you know, I kind of.
No, we're just looking at one project, we got 2.
Yeah, I look at that as a business, whether I should or not, the jail tank. And there's just this week, there's a lot of counties looking for, counties that don't have jails looking for housing.
House people.
Or Hood County, I think.
Hood County stays that way.
Hood County stays that way. They're going to go out for a bond, I believe, coming up. But their bid for a new jail is like 105 million, or, yeah, 105, 104, for a new facility. So I don't know how that'll go with asking voters to, and I don't know that that's I don't know that that's what they're gonna present to them, and they try to do an expansion. But the thought process of the expansion is, we add another 100 beds, we've got everybody else paying us to house them. But this year gave me a little bit of pause, because generally we've been running about 400,000, 350, 400,000 in revenue from other places. We had staffing problems, just like everybody else did, and we're only at like 150, like 152,000 brought in, because we had to tell Coriel and Hood that we didn't have the staffing to manage upwards. So the worry really for me is not, and Kent and I have met with the contract, we think another expansion, just like what we did, would be about $10 million range, which is only about a penny of our tax rate.
Not a lot.
It's not a lot.
Was it only staffing or was it bed space?
No, the 10 million's for building the facility.
No, but I mean,
the
the
issue
issue
was
would not be,
staffing,
would
because
not be with the house, was staffing, it wasn't facilities.
we got really close, yes, we got really close. Per person.
Yeah.
We got really close, we have 130, I think it's like 133, it's in that lower 130 beds. We can use 128 of them, because we have to leave a certain amount available for different agencies. We were at one point, we're at 126. So we've gotten close. Right now, and I'll look again today, when I go out there, I think, I didn't look yesterday, but we're averaging about, in the 90s right now. So currently, it's not a space problem, and we are housing for Hood and Corio again. Currently, it's not a housing problem, but I know if we built an expansion, there are several counties around us that pay people to take care of
So
it.
I'm just gonna be the devil's advocate. Is it a judicial deal where we're not adjudicating them fast enough to get them out of here? Or is that,
No.
is that the issue?
There's been a point in the past, I think, that
There's
was part of the problem.
a point in the past that right now, that's not a problem. COVID really messed that up.
Well, I'm sure,
But
slowed everything.
But that's not really a problem, and, the people that generally end up just sitting in there that shouldn't be sitting in there are on misdemeanors or something of that nature. County Attorney's Office has done a really good job of plodding along. There's mostly, they've got public defenders, or they've got something like that. They've tried to push that through. I mean, they're having court every year.
That's what I was thinking.
That was a problem.
I was like,
Now it's not.
why not expand the judicial end of it so we can ramp this process up?
Right.
I mean, it seems like that would be cheaper than the expansion on the jail. That's just Sherman.
No,
That's just Sherman thinking
there's
outside the picture.
Well, there's a whole, we can't just add another judge to, I mean, there's a whole lot of different things to that.
Okay.
But that is, currently, that's not our problem.
Okay.
Currently, that's not our problem. We don't have anybody, and we've worked really hard with the municipalities, because part of why we were getting up at one high, they were arresting on a lot of warrants, for unpaid traffic tickets, and people would go, well, how long will it take me to sit it out? Because they get a credit for every day they're in there, and so they would sit it out. Well, Stephenville and Dublin does this too, I believe. Dublin doesn't have near the volume of that, but they've moved to a little bit different system of how they're handling people that don't pay their tickets and get these warrants, instead of them coming in and sitting it in the county jail and like, hey, y'all just issued 300 warrants, and they're gonna come, 100 of them are gonna come sit in our jail for 5 days, and it costs us this amount of money to feed the only people this is, only thing that's happening is the county spending money to help these people pay off their tickets. So they've gone to different systems, so that's helped too. But the problem with expansion in my mind, and having somebody else pay for it, because eventually we will need to expand. It's coming. I mean, our jail population will get a point where we have to do it. But the staffing aspect of staffing that many more beds to do it, when we're having a hard time finding people where we're at.
Currently.
At what we're currently paying them, and everybody else is jumping up what they're paying, and
Sheriff said it's not just us, it's having an issue with staffing in the jail,
no, it's everywhere.
every county.
And so some places are throwing money at it because they've got money to throw at it, and then some are doing different things. But there's gonna be multiple things at some point that'll have to be done. I think we kind of were thinking about that and started having some meetings on it, and Matt did, and we kind of sat back and went, talk about it. Anyway.
I kind of got us out in the weeds. Go back to you.
This is all budgetary. This is all budgetary stuff. We've gotta have these conversations. We've got to have the conversations of where we're at and make decisions in this budget that we know are gonna have an impact in 4 years, in 5 years, because I don't want to get to where some of our neighboring, they thought they were in good shape, but we leave and
Roll around here 5 years and
We
they tell you
leave.
you're building a new jail,
We-
they tell you you're doing this.
we leave and we
Government does.
felt like we did really good, but we didn't do anything to help.
The future.
Really.
We gotta, and we gotta stay down under
Well, I mean, we gotta manage that.
3.5%, you know? And
Which I want to, I want to have the lowest taxes we can possibly have.
Yeah,
I was,
we don't help the citizens as much.
I was
as we
telling
can.
Kent, there's some options we can look at. Tarrant County did a homestead exemption. We're allowed to look at that, and that's something I was gonna ask Jonathan before next year's budget to look at, you know, just how we did the freezing of them for seniors. We have the ability as a court to do up to 20%, so any percent up there for a homestead exemption, just kinda like they give with the schools, we have the ability to do that. And maybe that helps our homeowners in the county offset some of that rising burden on, is that, I mean, last thing I wanna do is make anybody pay more than they paid in the past, but also, this is my answer to the people that want me to do no new revenue. I feel like it's our role, but I speak for me specifically. My job is to analyze it and to set us up for the future and to make sure we're making financial decisions based off of what we know we've got coming to meet the statutory duties. We don't have a lot of fluff. We don't have random departments of this. I mean, the county clerk's office works with 6 people and is as efficient as offices probably with 10 or 12 people, but that's how this place has been ran, and that's awesome, which sets us up. We just gotta be ready for that.
With this right now, there's what, 3.7, if you wanna compare things, 3.7 to 3.83, and that's M&O for both. It's our road and bridge in our general fund, excluding the debt, so you can kinda compare here to here, and that'll generate. So again, we drop our rate, the dollar amount being generated keeps increasing.
Can I wanna ask this, so road and bridge, after we went through everything and you kinda have this information, take that and look at your budgets again to see what it is, because there wasn't really many increases presented here. And that new number would be at that 7 cents. I mean, that's a 5-cent drop, approximately. Again, this is all approximately for everybody watching, you know, but is there, are we good dropping that much, or do we need to do that and do the same thing we're talking about in general to save for bigger projects or to do some of that stuff, so. Does that make sense? I mean,
It does.
if we're spending the same, and we're not asking for more, and
That's right.
we're saying we can do it efficiently for this amount.
And we probably could, but it's, you gotta prepare for what's to come, I mean, that's the issue. And when time comes to have to do something else, you're going to borrow all that money, you know?
I understand that 100%.
And you can't raise the tax rate, it's easy to lower it, of course, you know? It's a problem.
Absolutely.
Voter approval rate, that's, it ain't happening.
The problem, once you go down, going back up is
Exactly right.
and to me, just, and I'm not the road bridge, but to me, that's what I see the problem with going low on that one is because once you go getting 3.5% of 7 cents back, I mean, that's, you're talking not much.
This shows you what by precinct, what increase is generated for you guys. You have
And that's
almost
at
$500,000 apiece with what we just plugged in.
The 37.
Yeah, but when you come over here, so what I've got is, I've got the other sheets tied to this, so when we change these to see how we wanna look at this, like I just changed that one and this one for you guys. And it gives you your spread down here, and then there's 98% of it. And when we come over and look at our master now, earlier it was just net zero. These are the increases now. So there's that 3.4, 3.5 million more we got, but here's, those are increases. Interesting enough, the property taxes decreased the amount we need every year because of interest and those companies' principal and interest. But for us, this is what y'all would see as a gain, which is kind of interesting because it's pretty close to the same for, you know, most of them. But one thing that came up, and I'm just going to throw it out a little bit, and then I'll leave it. You know, does the percentages that y'all are breaking it down for the precinct still work? Are those percentages you think still good, and the amount of revenue coming into each precinct is, I mean, they're all different.
Yeah.
I think these is the least.
I'm always the least, though. It's short change.
He's the shortest.
We're making it, you know.
On those things, there's multiple ways, there's multiple ways to.
That ain't gonna help that.
No,
There's-
I tried.
There's multiple ways to allocate that money that different counties use, so.
Some use road miles, some just take a percentage, some, you know, different things. Y'all have, and we gotta research it, but y'all have a true road and bridge tax. A lot of these counties don't. They just have one tax rate, general fund, and they get their money out of that, and it's divided out by a percentage or something. I've seen them make them exactly the same for all four, and I've seen them do road miles like y'all are doing now, but if you got one starving and one money rolling all over the floor, then something's wrong probably as well. You know,
I'm always the least, obviously, because I got fewer miles than everybody else, but we're not hurting for anything but rock. I mean, hang on with that.
road miles is an odd thing to judge it on though, really, because you may have some really difficult road miles.
Yeah, you can have some
There's
different
a lot of houses.
terrain.
And it may
Well, I
just
think
be-
that no matter what, that's something we probably need to analyze every year and look at, because you start getting so many subdivisions that are going in certain areas, I mean.
Mountain Lake's a perfect example for Trouble Child. It's hilly, it's valleys, it's driveway every 10 feet, you know, it's a crazy environment to have to try and do real substantial good work in, and it's gonna cost more to do work there than it is. I don't get more money. 147, there ain't 3 cars a day go by it, and there's only 6 houses on the whole road. But I think the system is fair. I just think that it's just to give an example, I think the system is fair. Mileage wise, as long as the mileage wise, I think it's fair.
Yeah, you're getting the most money, of course you think it's fair.
Well, but it's hard, I'm probably, you answer my calls, I'll answer yours.
I'm just gonna enjoy this conversation.
I'll take your calls, you take the ones I've been getting. We'll try.
I didn't run for precinct 3.
So,
That's your baby.
I know they're the problem child. There's a lot of environments there that no one would want, no one would want to work in.
Not up there.
But,
No, I mean, like I said, well, I obviously the least, and I don't need for anything. We've got everything we need to work with, and just.
I do, believe we do. I do,
Yeah.
I feel
As
like.
of right now, I don't know of anything,
Everybody's got some decent.
big rock piles, we're good.
Yeah,
We're not hurting reserve wise.
With the rock problem that's happening, is there something innovative or something we can do as far as hauling it and
Railing it in on the
bringing it,
rail
or
train or something, you know?
buying a piece of property as a stockpile that's more centrally located, or? I mean, is there
That's the
something we
problem,
can do
the
there?
problem is, there's just not a lot of good rock
any right
in Erat County.
Any
I mean,
right
there's
just not.
really essentially Chalk Mountain is the only
good rock. There's a lot of caliche, you know, but it got too much clay in it, you know, you start grinding the rock with the yellow clay and it's just not enough rock to keep you afloat, keep you from sliding off.
I don't know anything about all that,
I'm gonna ask Albert this one, you know, because I don't know how many roads you have that you haven't paved. You've paved quite a few in the last couple of years.
Some,
So-
not a bunch, but.
So your rock issue is not gonna be that dramatic in the next couple of years. It's gonna decrease every time you pave the road. You're gonna decrease the need for these aggregates that wash away and go down the creek every time you turn around.
Yes.
For me, I'm gonna have to, I've got to transition to where you're going to.
That's right.
But you gotta get to the point where you can transition to that.
I know.
You gotta have rock.
That's what I'm saying.
Before you can pave.
I know. I have
Fix the road before you can pave it, or you
So
better.
automatically, I'm not asking for more money or anything, but I'm just saying, my needs are gonna be totally different than his needs in a couple of years.
That's
and
exactly
totally
right,
different
that's
than
the
your
deal.
needs.
One side of the county, the needs is gonna be, it's just
You
like.
can run right up to Easton and get rock, you know. Easton's
Y'all
not
look
too far from
at
it.
my budget, I don't spend that much on roadway material, but I spend more fuel. But I'm out here grinding material, I got some material I can grind, so I can get it at a cheaper rate, so I'm not spending as much on roadway material,
Whether you're
but I'm spending more
offsetting
fuel.
the fuel and the equipment run,
That's right.
wear and tear on your equipment. So I just put it out there just so, just think of it, you know. I foresee in the 5 years or 10 years, Kelly, we're gonna transition more from dirt to asphalt. Top roads that don't just wash away, and the gravel and road materials like that aren't so critical. Because when your road washes away, it's gotta go back.
And lots of people need to understand too, you go out there and pave a road, you're not through with that road.
No,
You
that's
got to
not-
repave it. I mean, it's an ongoing, just because you pave it don't mean that you're finished with it forever. It's not. You got upkeep, keep on it, and then when you do a major deal on it, it's gonna cost more than the cost of the pavement.
Because of the pavement, once it's. But you prolong the duration
Yes,
between these
You're exactly
major
right,
costs.
but just because it's paved don't
Make
mean
the
you're
duration
finished,
longer.
you can mark it off. It's not.
Where dirt roads are a monthly.
Trade the blade off for a patching machine.
Yeah.
It's the same deal. The things you need today, you're not gonna need the same thing tomorrow. But here, back again, Sherman's got us into the weeds.
No, I think
Sherman's got us into the
that's
weeds.
just where my mind always goes,
Go
how
back
can
to
we
what
make
we're
things more
focusing on.
efficient? I've heard the rock thing, is there something we've never done before that we could do that would make that?
It's just like they said, there's no avenue for it, there's no good source in the county.
Substitute for the rock.
You can't manufacture it, it's hard enough to do.
Like I said, there's always companies coming out with something that's gonna work better, but then you always go like the asphalt and rock. I mean, that's just that's what works, but you can sit right in.
But we can't stockpile it, I guess
No,
that's where, we don't have the ability to.
I would have, but it only works for me and Dee, it doesn't work for Joe. Because it's centrally located in my area.
You've got a place you stockpile, right?
I stockpiled at the yard.
Yeah.
We have one too.
I've got plenty of places I can stockpile. It's no problem.
But y'all,
I don't have any place.
No,
not really?
I really don't have a really good facility to stock.
The only county-owned property in precinct 1 is where the maintenance one, the jail. That's the area.
Well, you own a piece of Chalk Mountain.
No, that's not in precinct 1.
Yeah, it's
Precinct
not in your
1.
precinct.
In my precinct, the only county-owned property is the jail and maintenance barn, that area right there.
Well, I have
I'm aware of.
I have Pilot Knob that's close enough to me that it's centrally located in it's still a long haul if you're one way or the other. But we can stockpile some there, which there's no way to manufacture it there or get any, we just all we can do is stockpile it there. We couldn't manufacture anything. The only manufacturing place that's left that we could manufacture, make some of our own is down there at Chalk Mountain. Like I said, it doesn't work for Albert or Jim Buck, it only works for me and Dee. That's the only ones that are close enough to that area that make it viable enough to
Makes sense.
spend the fuel and the time and the effort to do it.
Anything else? Those are all good conversations, though. Oh, payroll, we didn't even- yeah.
Did you say something yesterday about going out for bids again on material and stuff? It's that time of the year.
Yes, so she's gonna get that
Okay.
all rock and roll.
We tried, we started, I think, last year before the time with the year, so it's perfect time.
So that we'll get those, get that ready, get it on court, and get those sent out, and bring it all back. Cause I guess there's a couple that we can't use.
Yeah. Especially in October.
So that, all right, we're talk revenue, let's talk salaries, payroll. Last year, I felt like I spent hundreds of hours working on it. This year, I don't really know what, I think there's probably a couple of areas that have been pointed out to me that we need to decide if that's an area that we need to continue to bump up and do it. You know, we made a statement last year, we were raised some of those bottom people up, but not all the way. I personally would like to continue that trend, with our you know, our people that are at the 36, trying to get to the 40 and take a stab at that. Other than that,
How many employees do we have that's under 40,000?
I don't know the exact number.
15. Most of them.
Right, but those
Those are all.
well, it's not gonna be all of them, because
That's not
that's
right.
departmental.
I know. Sort by. So these are part-timers, we had 18,000 for the part-timers. These don't, they're just EMS stuff, yeah, they didn't have specific to a person.
Starts at Terry.
Yeah, we get down into right there. And so, it's just. Ish,
At 36.
and 36. And then we got a handful of 38s, some 39s, and then some. Those were those, what we tried to classify as a clerk one kind of position. And then we had some custodian type people.
But it's that cascade effect that we dealt with, we raise those up, and you got the clerk, especially like in the clerk's office. You got people with more responsibility, and you've got your brand new people are making, what, your 6, 7, 8 people. Not as bad now because of the longevity that we implemented, last year, but still close. A stab there, and then, jailers has been brought up, they're at 45.
I don't, like Matt said yesterday, money's not the issue there, it's the job. Who wants to put up with being in there, taking the abuse and the verbal abuse and
Yeah, they're not the only ones in jail.
You're in jail too. I understand that. It's been brought up, Hood County went to 50. Deputies, again, and it's, maybe we look at some of those lower ones and we do a percentage or the cost of living, is for everybody. I think I did some simple math, and can't correct me if I'm wrong. Our payroll for all funded slots is what, 14 million?
Plus benefits.
Plus benefits. And so you can see where I think the cost of living, when I looked it up, was a little over 3. I think the national index, I don't know who's there. But you can see when you add that to everybody, how much, what that number is overall on a $14 million payroll. But it's in my opinion, we gotta take care of people. At the end of the day, we're supposed to do statutory duties, and if we can, I would rather spend money on payroll with people and have the best people taking care of our roads and our records and our judicial system, everything.
We can't do our job without good people.
Yeah. So,
None of us.
I think we need to just continue to look at that. But I know last year I felt like we brought you a real beefy thing. Now it's just kind of I think we probably touch on some things, but what do we want to do for cost of living or, increase?
Well, it's definitely gone up this year.
Wow.
How much would a
We couldn't match
5%
inflation, that's for damn sure. I know
Just
that
give me-
we ever get to
Can you
that.
do that?
5% across the board is
I know it's
700,000, 800,000, just for the.
3% would be like
gross increase.
400,000 or something like that.
And then you got another 15%, probably just ballpark and taxes on this and this.
So we have 200 and what employees, 230 something?
35, I think, ish, somewhere in that range.
So if we did two, that'd be 8. That'd be about a little over, about a $2,000 raise, so 3% would be like roughly a $2,000 raise.
Percentage wise, every year I argue about the percentage wise, cause if you're making 100,000, 3% of 100,000, or you're making 20,000,
I'm trying to figure out a dollar per head.
Well, dollar per head is my way, that's what I argue every year, so. Dollar per head's, in my opinion, the best way to go.
Yes.
So $2,000 per head times your 260, what?
Yeah.
250.
It's 476,000, if we did 2,000 heads.
And then how much for taxes?
That's about a 3%. If you did
50%
about
of that
that,
is taxes.
Average,
That's kind of what
that's an average.
what I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's gonna be
800.
450-ish, and then plus your additional taxes.
Additional taxes, retirement, and all the other goodies that go on my bells and whistles.
We got another one close to 20%, before I'm guessing, it's 40% with insurance, if we're adding people. But if it's just the benefits on top of increase, then I'd probably say 20, 25% additional, so.
Any more thoughts on salary?
What do you think, Buck? Sit down there all quiet, all you ever say is, I move we adjourn. Or let's pay the bills.
We gotta figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah.
You got a base adjustment, and then you got some people that we talked about that are probably gonna have to be adjusted out because of the changes.
There is some there's some one-off, some job description stuff that
Yeah, there's some of them that's getting their job titles and stuff like that, I want more money.
So, couple of, heard of.
There is, just so everybody's aware, federal labor laws changed, so to be exempt, you have to make $58,000 a year. We don't really, I think our lowest level exempt, I believe, is 56, so 2,000 would take us out of that issue.
Yeah.
And there's some part-time stuff in there, but I don't think we're gonna have be in conflict with any of those federal labor laws.
What do you do on the part-time people though, and full-time people? If we did 2,000 on the full-time people, what do you do on the part-time? Half of it?
I'll be honest with you, that's why most corporations and any big businesses end up doing a 0.5% or a sliding scale of it. We've talked about valuations, it gets hard because
But
every
it's-
does different, and you put them on a bell curve, and I hate that. When you say
cost of living.
You can only have 2 exceeding employees, and you have to have somebody that's not performing, and I hate that.
Yes,
You got a fully functioning team.
But the cost of living for somebody making 36,000 is the same as somebody making
That's right.
60,000.
That's right. That's why I don't like percentages.
Any more thoughts before this is the information I take and me and Kent, I bring you something and then y'all love it or hate it?
I do like just giving somebody a straight up across the board pay raise, because I'm not just putting me in the situation, but I think it's unfair for me to get this gigantic advantage over one of my employees that's just gonna get $1,000 raise, and I'm gonna get, whatever because of my salary. I'm not trying to get this in unfair, I don't say it's unfair, but I just don't feel like I need this advantage over them. If it's gonna be fair for one, it should be fair for all. You included. You included. Well, I'm just saying, it's gonna be.
If you offered me this job on the free market, I'd make twice as much as it.
I know you would.
And so would all of y'all. So,
We probably have adjusted over the last 5 years, our base, our lowest, like our clerks, I remember 28 maybe? It hasn't been that long, maybe.
No, it hasn't been that long, it was 26, 28 or something like
From there,
that.
it's 32 to 34 to 36. And
Done
when
a
you
good
start looking
job.
at that, those increases are, 60, 78% in some cases. And then we did that again last year, there were some of those in there that's 30, 40, 50% increases to get them right. And you always suffer that when you start adjusting all the bases and things. But now, we're close enough, you can start looking at adding cost of living plus the ones that have to be adjusted plus whatever else you need to take
I
out.
think that was kind of the game plan to get us to where our base salaries fit. And it may be need to tweak. I mean, we've talked about adding different levels of clerks. We've talked about adding all kinds of different things, because we can adjust it every year. But every office is a little different, right? I mean.
So right now we have clerk 1 and 2.
The 3 over
Clerk
there.
1 and clerk 2 right now, same as we have for road hands.
We talked about adding 1 and 2.
But, and then, like Jennifer has
Hands are
has
1 and
multiple
2.
that they really don't all do the same thing.
You got a road hand in
It's
one.
her,
you got a road hand
and she has non-super, she has clerk 1s that do more than
Yeah.
other clerks.
You need no supervision at all, though.
Right.
And the problem is, you got, well, road hands, you got road hand 2, this is the same thing road hand 1 is. That's just, I mean, the clerk's the same way. All of it.
That's 'tis life. Do your time.
We were hoping with the spread on the road hands like that when y'all did it last year, you try to put the one that needs, to run a piece of equipment, and you get your foremans. May need to do that to the clerks, is what you were asking.
Well, we've talked about it, but I don't think that was we don't know how we would do that in some of the offices, right? Am I saying that correctly? Like, Wanda's office has 3. How does she separate who they are? In her office is something. Now Jennifer might could have multiple levels in there, but then how do you balance those out? With Wenda's ladies and Wanda's ladies. Say, I've got 4 different responsibility levels.
They got 3, so they got clerk 1, clerk 2, and then what we call their chief deputy.
Just like we got a foreman, and we got a road hand 1, and road hand 2. Same levels, figure it out.
It got pretty tidy. We knew there would be some more things.
And longevity, you know, as of every paycheck they get now, includes that longevity in their paycheck. So really, still, some people don't like that, but it's part of their pay now. It's a pay for your tenure that you've been here. Yes, we had it in place, but you'd been here 20-something years and you're getting $1,200. And now, if you're here 20 years, you're getting like $9,600 based on top of that. So hopefully, as people see that on the paycheck, and then it's on their anniversary date, so when they'll see that throughout the year when they hit, and we made that aggressive. That may be something we want to look at, you know, or those who've been in this year now, or those year levels. I saw you had it.
Well, and their level of longevity everybody's goes up.
Yeah, will you pull up the longevity?
The longevity by department.
No, the calculator. That's what it
shows the total by
and
department.
so that's something, like our actual, like year 1, year 2, do you have that on there?
Well, so what we did was just random register, so we could have it for budget.
So, but we could adjust that, you know, we did year 1 through 3 is 5, year 3 through whatever, we can adjust that at any time too. So, you know, if we wanted to add another $1 per month onto a tier of somewhere in there to help pay your more experienced people some of that stuff too. And that's always an option to adjust that.
Now it looks like, I know that's not right, there's $50,000 that we had in from last year because we didn't know what we had in non-departmental. So you'd have to add that back in to the 409 and look. Yeah, 50,000. So if I added 50,000 or basically the 45,000 back in, we're gonna have 30-something thousand more this year in this longevity. It's pretty lucrative for I've noticed by department, you can see these starting to step up. That's the increase. So it's working. And you can see we're retaining people if that's increasing, right? So it was 13,800 now, and it was 6,800 the prior year. We probably got several dispatchers hit that tier. Sheriff's Department jumped to 17,400 more.
You went down. That means you're losing your 10
Losing some
people.
senior
When that number's going down, you know you're losing some 10 people.
We had one employee that.
Yeah, well, you lost a huge chunk of that on one per level.
He's gaining another one though. He takes.
Yeah, well, they actually wash each other.
Yeah, LE and Joe, both coming out. So.
None of them get replaced.
Yeah.
Because they're both maxed out.
Yeah.
So. No. I think another budget cycle of this and people seeing how that impacts and their paychecks jump when they hit those anniversary dates.
And that's what we're
really
worried about.
You'll notice it.
I know that's the easiest way to do it, but that's probably the best way to do it, putting a check every week, or every 2 weeks, but they don't realize, I mean, it's that longevity that's doing it. You know, it's just a paycheck. You know?
It says it on there, so. I mean,
It says it on there, but
You can
if
also
they,
have,
if they look at the email, you know.
Let's see the total.
Cause I'm bad about not even looking at
No,
my
that's
face.
me, I don't
I
know.
don't look at them.
I look at it every time.
Well, you're a money man.
we suggested that
I
they
read
peel some of that into the savings account.
Go over that one.
I look at it.
Make it spicy using that longevity into a savings account.
Well, and if we do all that, we all.
I ain't getting none of it anyway.
None of them want it. They want it right there. Proof, they want it like, you want it.
Well, and that was part of the reason for doing it too.
That's
I
right.
mean,
But mine puts out for it.
what puts food on the table?
So,
If you've earned it, money now puts food on the table.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just like, so. 3.5% raise, I mean, with, you know, inflation at 7.5%, you know, what did you really gain, you know? I don't know if you really gain anything or not. I mean, for me, it doesn't gain. I'm just trying to think of a way to, the 3.5 seems fair, but I just don't know. I just don't know.
If you did,
What would
and even if we did across the board, 2,000. I can't really factor in, because there are gonna be 23 of those or more that, you know, I mean, that'd be a step, we'd have nearly everybody within 2,000.
That'd be a step closer.
Touching this.
And then our longevity pay, we'll add to that.
We'll add to
We go back to the revenue,
You use that, just total revenue,
your tax calculation for that.
you wanna see what it's doing, or you
Yeah,
wanna see it in the
so it
actual
would,
number?
so if we did the proposed that's in there right now, it's 1.5 into the general.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're really playing with, per
Yeah.
se, with,
Yeah.
it's not all the salaries, but that's what we're playing with. And putting money back, like we talked about for.
Yeah.
Huh?
So
We're still over $1 million ahead.
Yeah.
So we
I
still.
mean, so I'm saying if you wanted to do more, if the two, if you wanted to, there's money there, we just need to, I think, probably figure out how much we wanna move forward in capital projects, how much we wanna.
Because out of that 1.5, we still don't have that, we've got fire trucks and ambulances, and so. In addition, so that's, just talking about salary, it's gonna take at least 570 out of that.
Yeah.
And
600.
then, yeah, and so,
Well, but part of the fire trucks and the funding that we're putting in there to leave going forward also, we're not gonna, that 5 million you were talking about, underspent and over received, that gap there would fund nearly all of that.
it does, yeah. What we could do is put this together with these anticipated revenues.
Yeah.
And then do some tweaks to payroll, and then have it where we can change the number for you.
What, if it worked for y'all, maybe we can set one more workshop. After we get those anticipated, so first week of August sometime, before, so we can really dial it in before I have to walk to Wenda's office and turn it in on August 15th. But we can have at least one more work session where we've got the exact numbers, and then I think we
That
just
would be
need
beneficial.
we just need to decide where we want the tax rate, or what we're thinking on that, and then what we would like to do with above and beyond what we've got. That'll let us, can't really make a decision on salaries or make a decision on, capital funding projects until, those have kinda gotta be made together. If we say, we wanna put $1 million a year into this fund every year going forward, or is it 750? So that we can take care of our employees.
Also, the insurance and everything, I'm sure you've looked at it. Is it gonna go up and all that?
We got it.
Yeah, we're looking at doing the RFP again.
Yes, okay.
And I don't know when we're gonna do that. I thought it was gonna be this week, but
Okay, well,
I think it's the 22nd.
I mean, the way everything else is going up,
I think they're, well, I mean, we saved a lot of money last year.
Yes, we did.
And according to them, we could not compete with Blue Cross Blue Shield could not compete on their own last year.
yes.
Because we were with TAC. This year, Blue Cross Blue Shield can compete individually with TAC, with all the others. So I really think we could see another decrease on what our costs are for there. I'm hopeful.
What about our automobile and our equipment insurance? How much is it went up?
every year
I know
we
mine-
bump it 10-15%. and
Ours
still
went
have
up
to.
twice this year.
Yes, mine has too. That's why I asked, because mine's jumped up for no reason.
15 to 30% every year.
Does TAC run that stuff, the renewals on the day you bought the equipment, or is it or do they have a set
So they'll send us out some estimates, we'll try to get some estimates.
before our fiscal year? Or do they run at a different time, or is
We
it
have
just?
one policy that hits in July, everything else is getting tied back to our fiscal.
To the actual.
I think it's.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's probably had an auto insurance or home insurance renewal in the last.
House went up 18%.
And we're gonna move you to a 1% deductible, or a 2% deductible.
No, he
instead of
moved my
1%.
deductible down. I wouldn't.
That's,
They-
the insurance guy told me everybody's moving to 2%, so just. So you're paying more, and then when you have, when you have to use it, you're paying more.
You pay more again, so, that's
So
right.
our building insurance is a split, and our equipment as well, but they're combined together. Everything else is at the end of the year. I wanna get those tied to our year end as well. Equipment.
And that's part of running the insurance, running the RFP right now, but we can tie it in so we would know our costs going into October.
That's just why I asked, because I knew everything went
I
up.
think they're supposed to,
That was probably the best thing we did in a long time.
they're not.
Kent, I know you got plenty to do, but can we get a list of what all we have insurance on, equipment wise, individually, each precinct? I mean, like equipment, cause I had to check mine in a couple of years, and probably some things on there I don't even have anymore, some things that I do have, it may not be on there.
Yeah,
Cambry's working on that.
Yeah,
she's got it, I've got it, every time we pay, our invoices, it's all broken out for the year in there, and I just got one, I think. But it's out, it's broken down by each area, that's how I put it into the budget, is I'll take their sheet on what they're actually charging us, and then they bring it up every year. So last year, they increased our workers' comp 30-something%, and I squawked about it, and then all of a sudden, one of the guys was here with a check and gave us a refund. I said, oh yeah, we're getting refunds this year. But it was after I said, why did we still 30%?
Right.
So,
And that's one thing not being in my budget, because the new building, the insurance is probably gonna go up on it too, so I didn't know if y'all took that into consideration.
yes, yeah,
Okay,
and we'll go back, a lot of this stuff I need to do before the next meetings, is go back and look at all the contract software costs, insurance, and try to make sure those are correct. And I'll send you one of these. I think I have,
so we need to have a special court sometime for that stuff Colby was talking about, because, you know, we talked about going ahead and buying it now.
Don't we need to get,
It's gonna be on court Monday.
well, I won't be here Monday, but that's fine.
Like that, what are you doing?
What? Secret. Can't tell you.
This will have all your mobile equipment on. The insurance will be vehicles.
I'll be here.
Yeah.
I missed the last.
Will you send that to me?
Yeah.
An email to me?
The weather's a lot nicer. It was really.
Just to make sure that we're all on the same, which I'm.
Sure I ain't got something that ain't on there, something that is on there that I ain't got.
Yeah, most of this is building, and then we have mobile equipment, and then vehicles is on another, and I'll send you that.
And if y'all talked yesterday about, getting rid of some equipment, we just need to make sure we connect the dots when we do that with his office. For insurance.
It was a massive undertaking, we're down to, this is it, looking at this, having y'all verify, and then go out, can we get that?
Yeah, we're starting
Things on the list and not,
the stuff that's not there.
We've been doing mine for 6 years, we ain't got it done yet.
a moving target.
Last time I seen, I had 3 red Mack dump trucks. No, the last 2 commissioners ain't had them either. Well, we've all inherited them down the line, I guess.
We have, for the first time since I've been doing this, we have everything in the system that matches everything on the audit schedule, which we know the audit schedule in the system don't match the insurance, but we're tying that together now.
Trying to get it together.
It was a massive project. We're talking, yes, $20-something million worth of properties and equipment.
Yeah. You know, Janet is so. This is what it's gonna be, and I'll send you a list. She sent me a list, it was the old list from 10 years ago. I knew what we agreed on. Oh, I'll fix that.
Well, we're getting there.
We're getting there.
It's a key word, I like it, we're getting there. I'll send y'all the list in a little bit.
Anything else budget-wise y'all need us to hear before, we'll set a meeting in August. We'll have the final numbers and we can really dig into payroll. Is there anything that was talked about in these meetings from the different departments that we're just, well, we need to have a conversation on that's a no-go or you'd like to see something different? This is your time.
Well, I'll just say, that pickup from precinct 2, or Suburban, or whatever it is, his vehicle, but I mean, I don't know what the cost is to buy that thing.
So, Kent and I he pulled up all those reports and we talked about their vehicles, constables' vehicles.
Yes.
And he has,
And these guys even, those pickups.
yeah, so you've talked to them about the pickups? Okay, so, it might be, I don't know.
I didn't
It
tell
just
them,
doesn't make sense to get rid of a low mileage, late model vehicle and wait for the other one to get upfitted and spend another $25,000, $30,000 upfitting a new vehicle when ain't nothing wrong with the one you got.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's,
You say the upfit.
We can continue,
however long.
tell me if I'm wrong, because this is a quick conversation, before I went to something else. We can continue to drive them, those vehicles for 2 more years, right?
yes, as long as we want. And so, those 2 constables were on 48. The pickup's on 60 months. And so what happens is, like, your residual value, I think, if we want to buy his, we could pay $9,000 plus whatever's left on the contract for the truck. But if we just let it keep going, like Ryan's, for example, $600 and something a month, he's only got 36,000 miles. it's at the end this year of his lease, but he can keep driving it from now on, with no lease.
Or can buy it.
Or just keep it, keep driving it, no
I know, we
payments,
can-
no buying, nothing, just keep driving it until, if we wanna have title on it, we can buy it, but there's no gain to do that, if, really, I mean, you've already got a title under enterprise, you literally pay out your lease payments, and you just keep driving it if you want, with no lease payment, until you're ready to sell it.
But that's not your vehicle when you sell
It's
it.
not yours, but when you sell it, you get that residual back. And so, if we sell it for 20 grand, we have to give them the difference on the books, which is, was his $2,000? $2,000, we give them the two, we get the rest of it. That's why it's a benefit to sell it. At some point, lower mileage is better, you know, decent mileage, but like for him, it makes no sense to switch. I think he keeps driving that for $600 a month for a few more months and then for nothing for another year, so.
For 2 or 3, 4.
No mileage. And then like the pickups at y'all's precinct, same thing, I think one of them was 9,000 and one of them was 11,000, I don't remember which was which. But that's the residual at the end of your lease, so if you wanted to say, I wanna just buy it today, you'd pay that plus however much are left on the lease.
Yeah.
Or you just keep paying the payment you're paying, which is cheap, $700 something, I think, for one and maybe $9 for the other. You just keep paying that till the end of the lease, and then you can make a decision. So anytime in between, and if you run out of lease, you just keep driving. A little mileage, but I think the whole program is based on getting more value than lease, keeping the repair costs down. You know, trading them are decent, especially for the high mileage people.
On a plain Jane vehicle, that's a great plan, but for these police and sheriff department, you know, vehicles that you have to have all the high dollar cameras and upfit and all that crap on, it takes an extra 6 months or 8 months to a year to get it done. It's
Well, constables and constables driving less than our deputies.
Someone drives them less than others.
And I just,
That's, we just look at the mileage.
that's
That's
great.
right, that's what I'm saying right there.
There's a lot of options with it.
We was fixing to spend
The upfit,
20 grand on a new upgrade, plus a new vehicle.
going crazy has really kind of changed a little bit about the low mileage police vehicles. I mean, you can have a lot of repairs on a vehicle. for
Yeah.
Spending 20,000 on a new upfit.
I mean, most of it hinges, seems to me in my mind, it hinges on what the value of this thing is when we trade it back in. If, you know, when you trade it back in, they can give you, you know, $30,000 for it, well, hey, that's a benefit, well, maybe we're gonna get something. They're only gonna give you $10,000 for it, or $20,000, well, the upfit costs $35,000 for the new one, so we're not gaining there. That's where the loss is.
And it's that way whether you buy it or lease it.
I know.
And a lease is the cheapest way to go, because you're only paying as you go.
As you go.
80 up front and then burning off of it.
Yeah,
You're paying
that's
12,000 a year.
And then lose it at the end. It's the end that gets you, it's the very end, when you see if you have any asset left. That's all it is, you see if you have any of this asset left at the end of it. The value, or whatever you wanna call it.
Okay, so constable stuff. Anything else?
I mean, it don't really pertain to, yes, it does pertain to budget, and we've been talking about it, is, the car usage. You know, people driving cars home and stuff like that. I mean, I know Becky's working on some new rules. It's in the handbook already, but Becky's working on, so she's,
I found some just strictly, vehicle usage guidelines that other counties.
well, that's what
use,
Becky's
and
got,
that's-
and you
that's-
probably may have got the one
that's-
Becky's got, but she's
No,
got like 6 or 7 different counties,
I gave her
that's what
those.
she's working off of.
I gave her those
Okay,
to
I didn't know
look
where
at,
she got that.
to
Anyway,
fix something,
that's
because
it.
it came from as big as Tarrant County
Yes.
to some smaller counties, so it's got a range of something that would work in there, so.
I just think we need to
That's
get some guidelines and enforce them. I mean, if we sit here and make rules and not enforce them, why do we have rules? So I think
Well,
that's
right
my
now, I
big
think
skills.
it allows the department head to decide, right? The vote.
Yeah, and I would say that's something's gotta go.
Yes,
Pretty days.
It should,
No.
You can't have a department head for liability. for it.
That's
We
right.
all can do that. So we have to budget it if it's approved.
So we'll have that coming back soon.
I'm not gonna,
I
I'm
just,
not
like I
gonna,
said, it wasn't really this. but
I'm
I
not
just
gonna
wanted
harp
to-
on it, but I'm not gonna harp on it too much, but I'm gonna say the employees that get to take these vehicles home, that's an unfair advantage to other employees.
That's right.
Kurt drives to work too, just as well as he does. I mean, are we giving this person, unfair cash advantage over any other employee?
I think it's putting a bigger liability on the county, plus I don't think, people's not looking at what's costing the county, the fuel and all that extra stuff but my big deal is the liability we're putting on the county. If there's an accident or anything, it costs us a big chunk of money there. It's unnecessary, in my opinion.
I give it the backwards look, you know, if you're gonna do it for one, you might as well
Do it for everybody, that's right.
And it's only fair.
So we need to budget 230-something more vehicles?
That's right, that's, if we're gonna do it for one, we just, we'll buy everybody's budget for 230-something vehicles and buy everybody.
Good, I want one too.
That's right, he wants 231, he needs one.
Guess what'll be in the next budget?
That's right. Airplane, that's right.
We've got an airplane coming.
Yeah, we've already.
I'm gonna get it. Strange, I have to have the exact same truck that I have. All right, anything else? These have been, I appreciate y'all taking the time, we don't get to do this, so sit and have these conversations about budget and future and what we're doing, I think more now than ever are important for planning for the next few years. Because we're changing and we're gonna change more. And I wanna make sure that when I leave this place, at least I tried to help the next person not inherit a train wreck.
It's always my same saying. You don't fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you plan without failing, you know, you're gonna fail.
Anything else? I recommend we adjourn.
I second that.
I've got a motion by Commissioner Buck, a second by Commissioner Reed to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
No, I won't stay.